Kan Han-soo remembers how ordinary his life on Earth used to be before fantasy stories and hero talk ever entered the picture. At his table with friends, he hears their ridiculous dreams about fantasy worlds, while the girls in class glare at them like they are hopeless nerds. When the others demand his dream, he gives the answer that gets him instantly crowned the class joke. Years later, he bitterly remembers that dream as he stands inside the summoning magic circle that dragged him into Fantasia. He takes in his weakened body, missing gear, and the crushing fact that 10 years of hard-earned power are gone in an instant. A bright-voiced Lenovo welcomes him, and he instantly recognizes her as the archaeologist who started this whole disaster. He snaps at Lenovo for kidnapping him, refusing to play along with her cheerful explanation of the prophecy. When a palace knight tries to hurry him along to the king, Kan Han-soo turns the situation around and reminds them that only he can kill the Demon King. Just then, a voice inside his head announces itself as a special instructor sent to fix his F-grade character. The new voice starts lecturing him about humility, and Kan Han-soo instantly realizes that some kind of moral teacher has been assigned to him. Back in the Demon King's castle after 10 brutal years, Kan Han-soo has already cut down his comrades and stands among the corpses on the road to the final throne room. Mercenary A asks why he killed everyone, and Kan Han-soo coolly answers that he will handle the Demon King alone. He walks on humming, almost cheerful, as if the mountain of corpses under his feet has only made him lighter. He kicks down the grand doors and finally enters the Demon King's audience chamber. Pedinar rises from the jeweled throne and greets the hero with theatrical confidence, fully revealing the Demon King at last. Before the fight begins, Kan Han-soo finally asks why the Demon King kept letting his subordinates die one after another. Pedinar casually explains that he kept sending stronger subordinates for revenge, and Kan Han-soo realizes the Demon King fed him a steady ladder of victims. The question goes nowhere, and Kan Han-soo gives up on ever getting a proper answer from the Demon King. After a brutal head-on duel, Kan Han-soo wins with pure training, and the Demon King finally falls dead at his feet. Kan Han-soo waits in disbelief for the usual second phase that never comes, then realizes the battle is truly over. Cursing the people who exaggerated the Demon King, he shouts to the fantasy world god to send him back to Earth. Instead of a clean return home, the god interrupts with a grating report that praises his power but condemns his character, and says he failed. The god says he must repeat the test from day one, and Kan Han-soo explodes in rage at the idea of going back into that hell. A suspicious light swallows him, and the system declares him a Blue Falcon hero while warning that a special instructor is being dispatched. A mysterious instructor explains that most heroes are sent back for self-study, but Kan Han-soo is different because he already won perfectly and still never learned from failure. He realizes Lenovo was only the messenger, and that the real force behind his return is Professor Morals and the teaching staff. Instead of resisting blindly, Kan Han-soo decides to cooperate for now while planning to challenge them later on his own terms. At the palace entrance, the knights try to intimidate him, but Sword King Alex suddenly rushes in and throws a test of courage punch right at his face. The blow barely misses, but it still tears his hearing and leaves him dizzy and bleeding from the ears. Kan Han-soo answers with a brutal counterattack, using a mechanical pencil to slash Alex's pants and prove he is not someone to toy with. Alex backs off in anger and challenges him again, but Kan Han-soo starts thinking the return to the past might actually be a chance to vent his old grudges. Dizzy and half-hearing, Kan Han-soo refuses Lenovo's offer of healing and uses his own training to stabilize his body. When Lenovo asks how he healed so quickly, he explains the ear injury in absurdly technical detail and leaves her completely confused. They finally arrive at the throne room, and the palace knight announces that the hero requests an audience with the king. Inside, Kan Han-soo sees the king and nobles waiting, and he immediately notices the whole court was stalling until their entrance was ready. The king asks if he can see his status, and Kan Han-soo's level 1 hero panel appears with a huge 500% experience bonus. The king dramatically orders him to save the kingdom and kill Demon King Pedinar, but Kan Han-soo quickly realizes the country is full of unrelated political disasters too. Instead of accepting the job for free, Kan Han-soo asks what support the kingdom will actually give him. When the king acts shocked and says the summoning itself was already the kingdom's support, Kan Han-soo refuses the assignment outright. He stabs a protesting noble with the mechanical pencil, then walks forward through the drawn swords without fear and reminds the court that a hero cannot simply be replaced. He wins the psychological battle by forcing the king to admit the kingdom needs him more than he needs them. Now in control, Kan Han-soo starts listing the compensation he wants: food, clothes, shelter, equipment, potions, maps, immunity, and even room service. Professor Morals rebukes Kan Han-soo for causing another incident, but then admits he is too busy dealing with an influx of students to watch over him. A day after the deal with the king, Lenovo's magic has healed his wounds, but his anemia still leaves him bedridden as he weighs the new hero activity fund he gained. Professor Morals shocks him by revealing that he is not the only hero candidate, and that many students from Earth are being trained in separate practical facilities to become heroes too. Kan Han-soo is floored by the idea that the world does not revolve around him, and he starts wondering if there are parallel fantasy worlds for all those students. He decides to focus on getting back to Earth faster, and tells Lenovo to follow him as he heads out. The Dumpling King hands over a heavy bag of gold, desperate to keep the hero's goodwill, and even assigns Lenoble to hold the money bag. Lenoble immediately gets distracted by a magic orb in the market, and Kang Han-soo lets her buy it because the money is not his. Lenoble's excitement draws attention from nearby youths, but Kang Han-soo's fantasy-style noble outfit keeps trouble away and lets them shop in peace. Instead of shopping normally, Kang Han-soo heads straight for the black market and warns Lenoble to keep quiet when she protests. He explains that buying the illegal orb makes them partners in crime, then talks Lenoble down by acting like a mysterious hero who can find the black market through insight alone. He leads her to a familiar shabby pub, where the noisy interior and rough regulars look exactly like the kind of place that hides a secret trade network. Kang Han-soo greets bartender Tony by name, revealing he knows the old assassin well and treating him like a trusted contact from his previous experience. Using the black market code, Kang Han-soo confirms that the auction is open today and quietly learns that slaves will be the featured goods. Kang Han-soo reserves 2 seats for the coming illegal auction, locking in his plan before leaving the pub. After eating in the pub, Lenoble questions how Kang Han-soo knew Tony, and he casually points out that his hero status lets him see other people's abilities. He reveals Lenoble's own status, calling her a level 200 scholar with strong magic and charm, which makes her brighten with excitement. To show her the harsh reality of this world, he compares her to an ordinary level 8 thief, and then stops the man as he reaches for her money bag. Kang Han-soo trips the thief, crushes his resistance with brutal precision, and kills him cleanly before the man can let go of the stolen bag. He explains that killing raises level in this world, and the murdered thief's high experience makes Kang Han-soo jump to level 4 right away. Lenoble is stunned by the level-up explanation, and Kang Han-soo lays out the nightmare logic of the fantasy world where strength comes from stealing power through death. He leaves the corpse to the market guards, tells Lenoble to protect the money bag, and confirms the black market crowd is unlikely to target them again today. A hidden guide at the Promised Alley asks if they are Tony's customers, and Kang Han-soo answers with the coded phrase that marks him as an enemy of dark commerce. They are led into a plain 2-story building that hides a spatial transfer circle, and Lenoble marvels at how much the black market spends to stay hidden. They put on wolf and fox masks, step onto the circle, and vanish in a flash of light to a buried underground hideout. A middle-aged guide explains the auction rules, and Kang Han-soo forces Lenoble to stay quiet so she does not reveal her famous name in a place where identity mistakes can be fatal. Explosion magic circles hidden in the tunnels remind Kang Han-soo that this market is designed to bury troublemakers alive. They arrive in the bright underground auction hall, where separate tables, bells, and a thrust stage make the hidden sale feel like a formal show. The auction starts with a so-called seasoned warrior on stage, but Kang Han-soo immediately checks his status and sees that the man is just a weak, anxious lie wrapped in fancy packaging. Just as Kang Han-soo dismisses the fake warrior, the auction bells start ringing and the crowd's excitement proves that plenty of buyers have money to spend. Lenoble gets excited and assumes Kang Han-soo came to the auction to buy beautiful slaves as companions, which he have to flex by remembering his past life mistake with the future elf king. The first slave, a level 11 warrior, is sold for a ridiculous price as the nobles around the hall turn the bidding into a pride fight. Lenoble points out a scarred fighter she thinks looks strong, but Kang Han-soo shuts the topic down and warns her not to mistake this place for a rescue outing. A noble-born human girl is brought out next, and Kang Han-soo calmly decides they are not here to save every captive they see. After the noble girl is sold to a wealthy buyer, Lenoble worries about her, but Kang Han-soo insists an expensive slave is usually treated better than a rescued one. Kang Han-soo's thoughts drift back to the first playthrough, where the Fairy Queen's reckless rescues left him cleaning up the disaster afterward. He catches himself muttering that he should split the Fairy Queen's skull if they meet again, then quickly brushes it off when Lenoble notices his mood shift. As the auction enters its middle phase, Kang Han-soo keeps making cautious probing bids while the hall gets louder and more expensive. Lenoble admits the place makes her feel sick, and Kang Han-soo tells her to endure it because the middle phase is where the better goods appear. Just as Kang Han-soo prepares to leave after securing one mercenary slave, the auctioneer suddenly introduces an elf from the southern forest, and the room wakes up. Kang Han-soo senses the elf is hiding something when he reads her status and sees that she is cursed, sealed, poisoned, exhausted, and anesthetized, but still level 851. The bidding for the elf races up, then stalls when the buyers realize how high her price is, and Kang Han-soo presses his bell hard to stay in the fight. The auctioneer starts the final countdown, but before the sale can finish, a loud explosion tears through the hall. A black market tunnel collapses, but the rubble starts moving like it is alive, revealing that a powerful intruder has already broken in. The tunnel widens instead of caving in as an earth elemental force hardens the walls and shoves the soil outward. The guards realize only an elf could command that many elementals so precisely and panic as the intruders surge forward. Princess Sylvia leads the elves calmly through the battle, and her high-level elemental power keeps the raid from being pushed back. The elves' fire elementals and archers overwhelm the guards, who break apart under the onslaught. Even while the black market staff evacuate guests, Lenoble wants to help the elves rescue people and smash the black market's plans. Kan Hansu shuts her down and sends her to safety with the mercenary and the money bag, saying the hero will handle the mess alone. Alone now, Kan Hansu corners the auctioneer and asks if the elf slave is officially his property. The auctioneer confirms the elf belongs to him, then quietly draws his sword, proving he is no clown at all. Kan Hansu realizes the market plans to capture Sylvia alive, turn her into slave merchandise, and profit from the disaster. He approaches the drugged, cursed elf and tells her Sylvia will surrender if she dies, then prepares to use her as the key to the outcome. He pulls her into a deep kiss, calmly reading her feelings about Sylvia and the others while she weakly resists, and then clings to him. He breaks her neck, kills a level 851 elf, and immediately feels a huge surge of power flood into him. The kill rockets his level upward and the system confirms he has gained a massive reward from the elf's death-blooming blessing. The auctioneer is stunned by the waste, but Kan Hansu calmly says he will still pay the proper price. An enraged elf archer looses an arrow at him, and Sylvia cries out in horror when she sees her mentor killed. Kan Hansu picks up a sword from the floor, decides to keep fighting, and grins at the chance to stop Sylvia from ever becoming a slave. Kan Hansu charges the elf archer, but her ordinary arrows are too predictable for him to fear. He parries the shots, closes the gap, and cuts the archer down before she can adapt. He tosses the damaged sword aside and snatches the archer's stiletto as his new weapon. An elf swordsman tries to ambush him from behind, but Kan Hansu spins into the attack and breaks through the rapier line. He punches the elf in the chin, grabs him by the throat, and starts using him as a shield. Using the elf's body to block the barrage, he keeps stabbing through the confusion and tears the elven line apart. The black market guard sees the opening, and the elves start collapsing under their own panic. With the elves breaking around him, Kan Hansu realizes he has no reason to hold back anymore. He pushes harder, and the fight eventually costs him a finger when he tries to block a sword-ki attack barehanded. Sylvia, battered and exhausted, asks if he is a demon, but he treats the carnage like just another shared slaughter. His status jumps wildly from the 5-fold EXP bonus, while Sylvia's side has been nearly wiped out. Sylvia decides to bury the black market with the dead, but Kan Hansu realizes her elementals are hesitating. He reveals his face, explains that the elementals value the hero over Sylvia, and stabs her through the heart. With Sylvia defeated, Kan Hansu treats her as a stepping stone and mentally turns to his next target, Sword King Alex. Professor Morals leaves Kan Hansu with a harsh lesson about not treating weak comrades like EXP, and orders him to think it over for 2 days. Lenovo appears beside him to help, and Kan Hansu immediately asks why she is still here after the black market cleanup job. He realizes the elf corpses from the raid could be stripped for magical materials, so he decides to buy them back and keep others from profiting off his work. He explains that he spent nearly all his money securing the corpses, and now he is waiting for the elf envoys to arrive with the payment he forced them to promise. 3 days into this fantasy world, Kan Hansu complains that everyone still thinks he is level 4, even though the missing black market witnesses have erased his real deeds. Alex strides up from the night training grounds to taunt him, openly looking forward to their hazing in 2 days. Kan Hansu fires back with a coffin joke, but inwardly he acknowledges Alex as a powerful sword king who can fight like a true tanker. Alex offers to start guiding him early, but Kan Hansu refuses, stays patient for the first time, and keeps hiding his true level. Lenovo asks what he plans to do next, and Kan Hansu decides to make a new companion out of the rescued mercenary's slave. He learns the mercenary is already eating voraciously and recovering fast after hearing he will be a companion instead of a slave. Kan Hansu grows bitter about his reset level and concludes that fantasy power can be taken away, so he starts trusting science and money more than gear. After weighing travel options, he refuses to walk anywhere and decides to leave as soon as the elf payment arrives, even if it means using royal approval and a spatial transfer circle. He admits they are going to meet a mighty being from his past, not an elder dragon, and Lenovo is surprised to hear he actually respects someone. They finish planning the trip when a knight arrives with the news that the elf envoys have already reached the palace. Kan Hansu is relieved not to wait, but his mood sours when he hears the envoy group insists on meeting him personally. He tries to refuse, but the knight reveals that Elfium's first prince came with them, forcing Kan Hansu to face a dangerous middle boss after all. The first prince, Nasuz, arrives as a handsome archelf royal and immediately stands out as a terrifying opponent hidden behind a polite smile. After greeting each other politely, Kan Hansu chooses to befriend the middle boss instead of fighting him, and the two raise a cheerful toast. Nasuz explains that Elfheim is sliding toward ruin because the current elf king ignored human threats, and then admits he's embarrassed after getting a little too drunk in front of the hero. Kan Hansu decides Nasuz is an unusually perfect prince, then reflects that the elf king had foolishly favored Sylvia instead of the capable eldest son. Nasuz asks Hieronym to help save Elfheim and defeat Demon King Pedinar, then hands over Endymion, one of Elfium's hidden treasures, as a sign of trust. Kan Hansu secretly decides he has no intention of returning Endymion anytime soon, even while pretending to promise sincerity. Kan Hansu draws Endymion and feels its clean elemental power, deciding the sword and he will make a good team. Nasuz notices that Kan Hansu can lift the sword easily and seems to guess both his real strength and that he may be the hero who killed Sylvia. The elf envoys leave with Sylvia's remains, and Kan Han-soo counts the exchange as a massive win: money, levels, and Dimin, and a bonus companion. Alex tries to stop the trip as dangerous, but Kan Han-soo shuts him down and agrees only to the hazing date Alex wanted 10 days later. Kan Han-soo explains that their destination is far away, but a spatial transfer magic circle can cut a year-long journey down to a single second. At the Manga Tower, a witch-like receptionist asks for identity proof, and the king's seal gets the group through immediately. The magician keeps getting distracted by the receptionist, but he still activates the spell and sends Kan Han-soo's group on their way. Lenovo complains that instant travel doesn't feel like a real journey, but Kan Han-soo dismisses her and the porter's objections as soon as they start. Kan Han-soo recognizes the allied country Maga's Tower and heads out into the city, ready to switch to the next form of transport. Lenovo tries to sell him on mercenary work for money, rides, bandit fights, and experience, but Kan Han-soo refuses to waste time on what he treats like a side job. Kan Han-soo shuts down the argument by warning that the resurrected Demon King could attack at any time, and Lenovo is forced to back off. The group reaches the destination village safely, and Professor Morals appears in the hero's mind to complain that he should not skip adventuring just to farm EXP. Kan Han-soo leaves the horses at the inn and heads straight for the village chief's house, where the great being known as Master Malang lives. Kan Han-soo knocks on Master Malang's door and politely asks the master for his teachings, ending the excerpt on that formal request. At the village chief's house, a wary little girl peeks out and asks who Kan Han-soo is looking for. Kan Han-soo realizes the girl is the village chief's daughter from years earlier, still far younger than the woman he remembered. Lenovo stares at the wobbling slime in the girl's arms and blurts out that the great being is just a slime. Kan Han-soo insists the slime is no ordinary slime and starts explaining why it matters. He carefully takes Master Malang into his arms, testing the slime's strange wobbling body for himself. As he feels the wobble, Kan Han-soo becomes certain that slimes can control their bodies in ways humans never can. He calls Master Malang a teacher, realizing he has finally grasped the technique of customizing through pure bodily feeling. Lenovo clings to him and begs to know how he did it, but he brushes her off and pivots to a lecture about growth hormones. A system window shows his skills rising fast, and Professor Morals appears with rare sincerity to praise and apologize for how the school treated him. After the slime finally gets handed back, Kan Han-soo pays the village chief a generous reward and says careful meals are enough thanks. Kan Han-soo leaves satisfied, believing he has spent 2 days here to gain the power of science rather than a spell or sword skill. He reflects that science proves his existence still matters, no matter how absurd the fantasy world or the time reversal may be. Back at the inn, Lenovo and Porter beg to touch Master Malang too, and Kan Han-soo allows it while feeling a little sorry for the slime. Master Malang's teachings keep forcing their bodies to react on their own, and Kan Han-soo warns them to come back before dark if they survive. As the slime's technique pushes his body into a new awakened state, Kan Han-soo checks the road ahead and turns his attention to achievements for the first time. He realizes this playthrough will fail his achievements unless he finds a clean alibi, because he still has to clear the Demon King and return to Earth. He decides not to repeat the whole Sylvia problem again and instead locks onto a nearby young dragon as the perfect achievement farm. Convinced the dragon's heart will give him both easy EXP and a flawless excuse, Kan Han-soo decides the hunt is the perfect plan and even thinks Professor Morals would approve. At the village inn, Kan Han-soo prepares for a dragon hunt by buying deodorant, checking his recovering body, and deciding he needs surprise and speed more than heroics. Lenovo and Porter keep tagging along, but Kan Han-soo snaps that they should stay out of the dragon hunt so he can avoid dragging them into a deadly mess. Instead of heading straight for the dragon, he cuts through a nearby forest full of orcs and spots a patrol worth easy experience. Lenovo and Porter try to jump in, but Kan Han-soo shuts them down and uses Endimin to carve through the orc patrol himself, taking hits to grind his skills and level higher. He explains the real plan next. The orc colony will be surrounded and crushed as bait, with Lenovo and Porter drawing the mob while he goes after the leaders. The trap starts working when Lenovo blasts the colony and Porter cuts down orcs at the edges, forcing the mob away from the center. Covered in orc blood and deodorant, Kan Han-soo slips into the empty center of the colony and heads straight for the chieftain's hut. Inside the hut, he finds the orc chieftain distracted with a wounded elf, and realizes he has walked into something uglier than a normal battle. He crashes into the hut, wounds the chieftain, and then turns the chieftain's own hostage trick back on it by impaling the elf and the orc together. The dying elf turns out to be a cursed, high-level tamer, and Kan Han-soo treats her death as unexpectedly good experience instead of a tragedy. He dives back into the colony, tears down the sorcerer and champions, and keeps climbing in level as the orcs collapse around him. Only then does he remember Lenovo and Porter are still pinned down, so he cuts through the orcs surrounding Porter first, and hears his loyal explanation for hanging on. Kan Han-soo sends Lenovo and Porter back to the village with the elf corpse for payment, using the order as an excuse to get them out of the dragon hunt. After they leave, Professor Morals appears in spirit form to scold him for giving up on the elf too quickly, but Kan Han-soo brushes it off as another useful windfall. Refusing to dwell on it, he heads to the young dragon's nest expecting a simple assassination, only to find a massive black chaos dragon already lying there. The dragon suddenly wakes and roars, and Kan Han-soo realizes with a grim pause that the nest owner is still a nightmare-level monster. Kan Han-soo bolts away from the dragon, knowing that getting hunted by a dragon would ruin both his life and his legend. The Oblivion Dragon King rises like a black eclipse and hammers the ground with poisonous dragon breath, blackening everything it touches. Kan Han-soo survives the missed attack, jokes that the dragon's aim is terrible, and runs the opposite way to keep the village out of the disaster. His body keeps adapting on its own, and his status shows a terrifying rise in strength as the fight keeps feeding his growth. He pushes through orcs with his own body, using pain, adrenaline, and endymion to keep cutting forward while the dragon keeps chasing him. The dragon and the hero accidentally become a brutal hunting duo, with the dragon driving monsters into range and Kan Han-soo harvesting EXP from anything already half-dead. Days blur by, and the impossible partnership tears across Fantasia, destroying demons, forests, heroes, monsters, and whole settlements in its wake. The run ends abruptly when the dragon crashes out of the night sky, revealing that even a monster king can be brought down by age and exhaustion. Kan Han-soo checks his own status and sees that he has reached a monstrous level of power, but the battlefield around him is a dead zone of poison and destruction. Professor Morals appears in concern, and Kan Han-soo admits that his blind guesswork about the dragon's nest got him into this mess. When the dying dragon grants him its power, Kan Han-soo realizes he has gained chaos itself, and that part of his status has turned into a mosaic mystery. He swallows the dragon's small black heart, endures the chaos tearing through him, and unlocks the hidden skill at rank F. He returns to the village after 7 days, and Lenovel and Porter greet him like nothing terrible could possibly have happened. Lenovel tells him the village thinks the dragon's attack wiped out the continent, and Kan Han-soo realizes nobody saw the truth. He loudly claims he defeated Oblivion Dragon King Noibius, using the dragon's disappearance and lack of evidence to sell the lie as legend. He decides he needs another giant killed to make the story believable, but Lenovel reminds him that Alex's orientation day is only 1 day away. Kan Han-soo dismisses her side details, but then hears that the elf remains he sold came from a guardian knight of Elphium's queen. He shuts the topic down entirely, refusing to care about missing elf knights or their queen's problems. A silver fox carriage comes racing toward the village with masked pursuers behind it, and Kan Han-soo instantly recognizes a new political problem. He pretends to spot a magic staff in the distance, breathes out poison, and drops the horses, carriage, and masked attackers in one clean ambush. When Lenovel looks back and sees nothing at all, Kan Han-soo calmly acts like he saw wrong and lets the village stay unaware. Kan Han-soo strips the Imperial Princess carriage for valuables, but decides the corpses still need to be burned so the Empire does not suffer from this tragedy again. Back in their kingdom 2 days later, Kan Han-soo arrives late but gets forgiven immediately by the king's easy smile. Alex launches the hero's training session at the palace grounds, bragging that he will forge Kan Han-soo into a proper fighter through live combat. Kan Han-soo remembers the brutal treatment from his first playthrough and realizes this lesson is just another excuse for Alex to beat him again. Alex claims the training is necessary for humanity, but Kan Han-soo coolly challenges his weak level and refuses to accept the lecture at face value. When the palace knights laugh at him, Kan Han-soo shuts them up by threatening to beat their families too, and the crowd suddenly loses its courage. Finding that the remaining spectators are mostly lonely or widowed, Kan Han-soo lets them stay and turns the whole thing into a show. Kan Han-soo's true status window appears, showing a monstrous level gap and skill list that makes Alex look hopelessly outmatched. Alex tries to start the attack, but Kan Han-soo counters first and shatters his right knee with a single brutal kick. With Alex writhing on the ground, Kan Han-soo sneers that a real fighter does not wait for the opponent to recover. Kan Han-soo keeps pressing the advantage, kicking Alex again and warning him that battle is cruel and survival matters more than pride. Alex is left half broken in the dirt as Kan Han-soo finishes the lesson by saying the best way to avoid future trouble is to remove it now. Professor Morals tries to shame Kan Han-soo for murdering the Imperial Princess and the Sword King, but Kan shrugs it off and insists the cleaner, safer answer was to kill her. When Professor Morals pushes him to become more merciful, Kan jokes that he is being nagged into forgiving even the Demon King, and the inner voice warns that would betray the hero's purpose. Clergymen and magicians rush in, check Alex's pulse, and go pale as they realize the kingdom's greatest swordsman is really dead. Kan accepts the weight of what he did, then gives the frightened crowd a reassuring smile that only scares them more. He orders every palace knight to assemble, and the soldiers snap into rows under his threat instead of resisting. Kan announces that Alex died during live training, mocks anyone who would charge blindly, and casually threatens to cut off the hand of anyone who dares ask too many questions. He splits the knights into 2 teams, sending one group with Lenovel to raid the queen's villa and expose the demon worshipper evidence while he handles the rest inside the kingdom. Kan resolves to clean up the kingdom properly as his debt and responsibility for Alex's death, and Professor Morals sounds surprised by the sudden change of heart. 5 days later, Kan begins the public purge in the central plaza outside the palace, where tied-up criminals are lined up like execution goods and Porter stands ready with a spear. Khan treats criminals as piles of EXP and has Porter stab a noble first, sending the crowd into cheers when the punishment begins. The queen is brought out tied to a wooden pillar, weeping and begging the king for help as Khan judges her demon contract and declares her guilty. When Porter hesitates and asks about rehabilitation, Khan shuts him down, and the queen is executed on the spot. Khan explains that the king had wanted to hide the queen's crime for the sake of succession, but he refuses the cover-up because the princes are already corrupt too. Khan orders both princes executed as well, cutting off the succession problem before it can survive another day. With the royals gone, Khan tells Porter to clear out the rest of the trash, and the remaining executions become a routine public purge. As Porter's level surges and his job changes into an adjudicator, Khan decides he just needs the right woman beside him to make him a true hero. Khan targets the princess as that perfect match, teasing Porter that the royal girl has already been ruined by the queen's scandal and that he should stop acting so chicken-hearted. Khan fully commits to raising Porter up and even jokes that he will train him until he becomes king, ending the chapter on his absurdly confident promise. Khan Han-Su becomes famous across Fantasia, and even neighboring kingdoms start showering him with praise, gifts, and eager marriage offers. He casually accepts the gifts but makes it clear he is not interested in the women. He explains that what he really wants is heart healing, not perfect princesses, and remembers how an ordinary street woman once kept him from suicide in a past playthrough. He dumps the useless tribute on Porter and orders him to eat the EXP elixirs instead of selling them. Khan decides he has done enough in the kingdom and tells Lenoble to come watch him do real achievement work. The narrative shifts to his new strategy. Only actions that count as real achievements will matter this time. That plan brings him to Elfheim through a spatial transfer magic circle inside a Magus Tower, with Lenoble still trailing after him in disbelief. He is escorted into the elven capital, and Nasus greets him warmly with a banquet already prepared. At the banquet, Nasus talks about Sylvia and the strange elven food culture, while Khan quietly judges the spread as decent enough. Khan notices a powerful female knight nearby and checks her status, realizing she is one of the Elf Kingdom's strongest fighters. Nasus introduces Iris as his most trusted aide, and Khan learns she is a half-elf whose human grandmother explains her unusual traits. Khan immediately understands why Iris would side with Nasus in a rebellion meant to unite humans and elves. The celebration is interrupted when the Elf King storms in and demands to know what Nasus is doing. The king explodes at the sight of a human hero, insults humanity, and blames humans for Sylvia's death. Nasus answers coldly that Sylvia's death was her own end, and the king loses control and starts summoning elementals. Before the king can act, Endymion pierces his chest and drops him in a spray of blood. Khan then looks at the room full of stunned faces and calmly plays it off with his old favorite excuse: he slipped. The Elf King's death sends shockwaves through the continent, but this time the blame does not land on Khan Han-Su, so his reputation stays clean. Professor Morals appears to question whether killing the Elf King was too much, then says he only came to investigate before vanishing again. After the professor leaves, Khan wonders why he is making such a fuss when Porter has already been placed in a key kingdom post. Khan reflects that the Elf King's death could have triggered a human-elven war, but he has already turned the situation into a political win. Iris lounges in bed after the banquet, and Khan openly praises her as he flirts through their last private moment together. Khan leaves Elfheim with the rewards Nasus gave him, including custom gear and supplies that would be hard to replace quickly. Lenovo rushes up in exhausted excitement after touring the Elf Kingdom all night and begs for more time to keep exploring. Khan refuses to stay longer, tells Lenovo to live here if she loves it so much, and sends both of them back with a spatial transfer magic circle. Back in the kingdom, Khan is greeted with news that Porter is marrying the princess, a sudden rise that makes him laugh with approval. Khan checks the bride's status and sees that her calm face hides worry about the future behind the wedding joy. When a young mercenary bursts in shouting that he objects to the marriage, Khan draws Endymion and orders him caught. Khan lets the intruder be chased off instead of spilling blood in the wedding hall, but he immediately clocks the man's desperate love as a future problem. That night, Mercenary B sneaks back into the palace for the bride's bedroom, and Khan cuts him down on the spot. Khan destroys the corpse, feels strangely refreshed, and decides the rescue of the bride and groom somehow feels right anyway. After wishing the couple happiness, Khan and Lenovo head into Demon Lord Pedinar's territory with Lenovo assigned to spread his legend while he goes to finish the job. Khan unleashes poison across the Demon King's territory, dropping the land's creatures before finishing off the survivors one by one. Professor Morals tries to challenge Kang's methods, but Khan brushes off the criticism and treats the demon purge as perfect progress. The professor worries about Khan wasting a chance at romance with the princess, but Khan insists he simply was not interested. The professor gives his final advice, telling Khan to accept the world more warmly before taking his leave for good. Khan tells Lenovo she worked hard, then bluntly sends her away while he continues alone because he does not want his graduation ruined. Khan walks through the abandoned Demon King's castle, remembering how the first playthrough was full of pointless companions and casualties. He reaches the throne room door, kicks it open, and finds Demon King Pedinar calmly waiting with a naked elf queen in his arms. Khan learns the elf queen was not brainwashed or abused at all, and the painful truth completely overturns the old story he had heard about the demons. Petinar complains that Khan arrived too fast without companions or a holy sword, and Khan answers that he is confident he can win anyway. Khan draws Endymion and attacks, while the sword erupts with the fury of the corrupted heart elementals inside it. With his level dragged down by the hero's penalty, Petinar loses in just 3 exchanges and is decapitated before he can recover. Khan realizes Petinar's job penalty forces him down to the hero's level, making the Demon King far weaker than his title suggests. Khan accepts the result, calls the whole journey trashy, and waits for the final grading as the mysterious teacher gives the same farewell speech as before. Khan Han-soo is judged, fails the exam, and gets sent back to the first day with a warning that the teachers will adjust everything for another run. Light engulfs him, the world rewinds, and the monitor tells him a specialist instructor is being assigned. Back at the start, Lenovo welcomes him again, and Khan Han-soo instantly realizes he has been thrown into a third playthrough. He hears the same explanation and self-introduction again, and the repetition makes him seriously consider killing Lenovo just to force something new to happen. Professor Morals and the system talk him down, praising his top-grade results, and reminding him not to vent by killing an innocent companion. He rages over his impossible reputation and the ruined continent, realizing the hero title makes him the perfect scapegoat for everyone's grief. A palace knight orders him to move, but Khan Han-soo shuts him up and decides to test the situation instead of acting recklessly again. He notices there are 2 heroes now, and the sudden appearance of a normal-looking schoolboy leaves him speechless. The boy introduces himself as a Korean high schooler named Khan Han-soo, and his bizarre smartphone case immediately catches the hero's eye. His status looks completely normal except for the hero job and cheerful confidence, making him seem weirdly calm for someone abducted into a fantasy world. He instantly adopts the nickname Sieg, shrugs off his old life, and confidently declares that he will protect Khan Han-soo. Khan Han-soo finally understands that the teaching staff picked this ridiculous but highly adaptable boy to be his friend and guide. Unlike the second run, there is no courage test, and the group simply moves on to etiquette training before the king's audience chamber. When the audience chamber opens, the king greets the heroes warmly, and the room reacts when Khan Han-soo handles the etiquette perfectly. Sieg's clumsy greeting makes everyone laugh, and Khan Han-soo has to watch him stumble through the same formal introduction he has already mastered. The king asks them to inspect their abilities, and Sieg proudly reads out his status while Khan Han-soo silently opens his own far more monstrous one. Khan Han-soo's status has reverted to his post-Petinar prime, even if his level has not, and he realizes the third playthrough finally starts from power instead of weakness. The king orders them to defeat the demons for the country. Sieg answers eagerly without hesitation, and Khan Han-soo forces himself to play along for the sake of graduation. Khan Han-soo smiles and promises to handle everything, but in his head he is already planning to keep Sieg close and never let this graduation chance slip away. Khan Han-soo realizes his preserved skills survive the regression, which gives him far more options than a normal level 1 hero should have. Professor Morals is left stunned and muttering when he cannot explain how Khan Han-soo kept his abilities. Once the audience is over, Khan Han-soo bursts out laughing, finally letting some of the second playthrough stress spill out. Sieg comes over, and Khan Han-soo tries to pull him into a casual companion bond while talking about returning to Earth. The talk goes sideways fast when Sieg says he has no intention of going back to Earth, and will stay to fight the Demon King instead. Khan Han-soo reluctantly accepts Sieg's goal, and they agree to meet again in 5 days for Alex's orientation. When Sieg wants to tour the palace with him, Khan Han-soo refuses and heads off on his own. Lenovo appears and starts trailing him instead, openly curious about why he feels different from the past heroes she studied. Khan Han-soo snaps that she is acting like a puppy and tells her to stop clinging to him. He heads for the queen's hidden villa, where the royal hunting lodge has become a secret meeting place. 5 guard dogs block the entrance, but Khan Han-soo kills them instantly with his poison breath skill. He drags Lenovo inside as insurance, and quietly breaks into the villa through the locked entrance. Inside, Khan Han-soo spots the queen's personal maid on duty and decides to strike first before she can react. He snaps the maid's neck in one clean blow, then levels up from the kill. Lenovo is stunned that a level 1 hero could kill a demon-powered maid, and Khan Han-soo shuts down her questions immediately. They move deeper through the villa's magic traps, but Lenovo and Khan Han-soo both get through without issue. Khan Han-soo opens a purple closet and slips into the secret passage hidden behind it. At the cult meeting room, he appears in front of the demon leader and uses his overwhelming evil miasma to take control instantly. The cult leader panics, kneels, and starts calling Khan Han-soo an Archduke-level demon without hesitation. Khan Han-soo silences Lenovo, then openly announces that he is taking over the kingdom and will run the operation from the shadows for free. Khan Han-soo quietly traps the kingdom's demon cult and turns the queen into his most dangerous insider, then receives official activity money from the king instead of dirty cult cash. A palace knight rushes in to beg for help, saying Sieg is clashing with a noble and refuses to back down. At the dispute, Sieg accuses a baron of grabbing a woman by force, but the palace knight calmly pushes back and asks for proof. Khan recognizes the baron as a demon worshipper, but the crowd is already leaning against Sieg, so the accusation is about to backfire. The woman explains that the baron had merely helped her father and treated her kindly, completely flipping the public mood against Sieg. Unable to save himself, Sieg gets politely but firmly hauled away like a criminal while Kang watches, realizing how disastrous his hero instincts can be. Kang reflects that Sieg bounces back fast, but his reckless habit of helping people without checking facts makes him a terrible model to learn from. The queen returns as his obedient insider and reports on Sieg, while Kang orders her to keep watching him and then sends her away. From the window, Kang watches Sieg waste time chasing a lost kitten, proving again that the hero is more useful for errands than for judgment. Kang calmly lays out his bigger plan. Sylvia is already captured and heading toward the black market auction, so she is effectively out of the game. He decides Alex is worth keeping for now, because the future Sword King can actually be useful if left alive a little longer. Once the kingdom settles down, Alex returns and opens the hero's orientation at the royal training grounds with loud confidence. Just as training is about to begin, Alex announces that the queen has come to watch, and Sieg instantly gets excited while Kang braces himself. Alex orders them to spar properly, and warns that surrender or running away will not be tolerated in front of the queen. Sieg panics and calls Kang his friend, but Kang starts the fight anyway and lands the opening blow to the jaw. Kang Han-soo keeps Sieg on his feet with a merciless spar, beating him so hard that the hero candidate starts to crack under the pressure. When Sieg finally collapses, the rescue team rushes in, hauls him away, and magic quickly closes his wounds, though his broken hair, teeth, and shaken mind need more than healing spells. Alex steps in next, furious that Kang Han-soo has been treating sparring like a joke, and he marches forward to teach him a lesson. Kang Han-soo answers Alex's punch with one of his own, and the much weaker-looking blow leaves the veteran swordsman clutching his stomach in surprise. Kang Han-soo then kicks Alex in the head, grabs him by the hair, and hurls him away before dropping a brutal finishing knee into his lower back. Alex is left crippled and cursing, and Kang Han-soo casually declares that the orientation was fun before getting himself excused from further training. As the sweltering drought drags on, Kang Han-soo keeps handling the kingdom's crisis in the background while overhearing Alex push Sieg through relentless day and night training. Alex's harsh coaching starts paying off, and Sieg's status shifts from raw weakness to a much more dangerous skill set even though his level still does not move. Kang Han-soo grudgingly admits Sieg has more natural hero talent than he does, then mentally turns to Professor Morals for an explanation. Professor Morals suggests they escape the heat by going somewhere with good water and beautiful women, and Kang Han-soo immediately realizes a lake trip is the answer. The map points to a huge lake monopolized by mermaids, and Kang Han-soo decides the drought can be solved by taking their water and their territory. Sieg is thrilled by the idea of a mermaid princess, but Kang Han-soo makes it clear this is a serious survival mission, not a gentle negotiation. Kang Han-soo even promises Sieg the mermaid princesses, but Sieg is mostly confused about why the expedition is bringing so many people along. With the kingdom desperate for water and no room left for compromise, Kang Han-soo sets out with 30,000 reliable companions, and Sieg's mermaid adventure finally begins. Kang Han-soo lays out the mission. The mermaid home is a dangerous level 500 hunting ground, but only the queen is truly threatening, so the others can be handled once the lake is controlled. When Sieg protests that level 500 sounds insane, Kang Han-soo mocks how weak Sieg is and explains that the real target is the mermaid queen, not every creature in the lake. Kang Han-soo decides they will drain the lake instead of fighting in the water, because mermaids are too dangerous on their own terrain and the crops still need that water later. Lenovo frets that the past heroes were friendly with mermaids, but Kang Han-soo dismisses that romantic nonsense and keeps his attention on the real mission. They finally reach the Lake of Sad Songs, a huge border lake tied to a tragic hero and mermaid legend and a nearby village full of men who have been changed by mermaid beauty. Kang Han-soo leads the 30,000-man expedition as the commanding nobles accept his plan, while he quietly notes that the demon worshippers have already finished taking over the kingdom behind the scenes. The officers split the army into 3 forces and march them toward the lake, while a separate Holy Kingdom army watches from the other side, uneasy about what the Dumpling Kingdom might do next. Kang Han-soo, Sieg, and Lenovo enter Sad Mermaid Village, where Sieg is shocked to see that the place is almost entirely men who were bewitched by mermaids. Kang Han-soo takes them to a pricey inn by the water, where the bar and upper rooms overlook the lake and wealthy travelers usually stay. Inside the bar, the innkeeper turns out to be Aqua, a mermaid princess and the second strongest mermaid in the lake, disguised as a beautiful young woman in a blue dress. Kang Han-soo answers Aqua's greeting with a fake polite smile, then deliberately crushes Sieg's foot before the kid can get completely entranced by her beauty. Aqua starts probing them for their purpose, but Kang Han-soo immediately realizes she is hunting for strong men, matching mermaids' instinct to protect the lake and recruit husbands. Kang Han-soo openly admits they are targeting the lake too, and Aqua instantly answers with a deadly spray of high-pressure acidic water straight at his face. Kang Han-soo ignores the corrosive spray, closes the distance, dodges Aqua's steel broom, and kisses her before she can fire again. His poison-laced kiss knocks Aqua out, and Kang Han-soo hoists the nearly dead mermaid princess onto his shoulder like a captured prize while Sieg and Lenovo stare in disbelief. Kang Han-soo coolly mocks their shock, then the door bursts open and a saintess-looking woman arrives, horrified by the rumor that heroes are hunting mermaids and instantly recognizing him. Aqua wakes on the bed after Saintess A's healing, but the cure has left her weak and coughing instead of fully recovered. Sieg becomes absurdly starstruck the moment he meets the Saintess, and Kan Han-soo immediately realizes how weirdly obsessed he is. Saintess A questions the hostage plan, but Kan Han-soo bluntly explains that Aqua is the leverage needed to force the Mermaid Queen to accept the kingdom's demands. He argues that the kingdom's drought matters more than the mermaid's comfort, and that a hostage is just the cleanest way to make the lake surrender. Sieg protests that hostage-taking is unheroic, but Kan Han-soo shuts him down by pointing out how useless his objections are to starving villagers. When Saintess A pushes for another solution, Aqua reveals the lake's hidden guardian deity, a giant catfish called Yahello that might bring rain. The idea quickly shifts from impossible to tempting, and Sieg eagerly backs the plan to hunt the catfish with Saintess A's support. Kan Han-soo asks about the odds, but Aqua crushes the optimism by admitting the lake's guardian is basically hopeless to beat. Sieg starts backing out again, so Kan Han-soo instantly volunteers him as the vanguard and decides the catfish hunt can double as useful sacrifice and reputation gain. Lenovel tries to join the hunt too, but Kan Han-soo dismisses her offer and finalizes the plan to subjugate Yahello. Afterward, Kan Han-soo turns to the Mermaid Queen and forces her to sign the contract by threatening to serve Aqua up as human food. He tells her the choice is simple: join the kingdom, accept its laws, and hand over 3 princesses for the palace pond, or go to war. The queen gives in, and Kan Han-soo immediately announces that the mermaids are now part of the kingdom, putting Sieg in charge of protecting them. Before Sieg can escape the responsibility, the mermaids panic and flee ashore because the sealed guardian deity has awakened. Then Yahello rises from the lake, and Kan Han-soo realizes the so-called catfish is actually a monstrous chaos titan with only a catfish head. Yahello stomps onto land and ignores everyone, then bolts straight toward Dumpling Kingdom territory, leaving Kan Han-soo stunned as the whole plan starts collapsing. Yahello tears across the land at terrifying speed, and Kan Han-soo starts farming monsters on the run just to claw back enough level to fight him. A village gets in Yahello's path, and his careless kick destroys it in one blow, leaving Kan Han-soo sick at the sight of his reputation collapsing with every ruin behind them. Lenovo finally catches up by flight magic, and Kan Han-soo orders her to slow Yahello down even though he does not expect much from her. Against all odds, Lenovo drops Yahello with a ridiculous patch of summer ice, and Kan Han-soo grudgingly admits she actually helped. Kan Han-soo powers himself up to the limit, then leaps onto Yahello's back and crushes his lower spine with a precise knee strike. The hit works, but Kan Han-soo realizes it still is not enough to finish a boss this tough before the others arrive. Aqua and Saintess A rush in late, and Kan Han-soo spots Aqua's weakened post-resurrection state as the real chance to gain the power he needs. He kills Aqua on the spot, then coldly tells Saintess A to resurrect her so he can use the EXP to deal with Yahello. A massive surge of power floods Kan Han-soo, and Aqua's death pays off as he rockets from level 21 to 85 in one burst. Now far stronger, he tears into Yahello's Achilles tendon and finally drops the giant hard enough to leave him helpless on the ground. Kan Han-soo hammers Yahello's catfish head, dismisses him as a mischance for an earlier partnership, and then notices the monster dying while reaching towards something off-screen. Yahello dies, Kan Han-soo's level shoots to 750, and the black box skill climbs to E rank with a new effect that says it cannot be destroyed. Aqua comes back to life confused and angry, then immediately starts acting attracted to Kan Han-soo now that his level is absurdly high. Sieg arrives in dry clothes under the Holy Kingdom's magic umbrella and announces that he is going to find the Holy Sword with Saintess A. Saintess A ends up choosing to protect Aqua instead, which leaves Sieg to search for the Holy Sword on his own and turns the whole group's next path in a new direction. Then the long-awaited rain finally washes across the whole drought-stricken continent, and Kan Han-soo celebrates, as if his reputation is rising with the weather. But 5 days later, the rain still has not stopped, and Kan Han-soo's reputation starts falling again as the problem turns into a new disaster. After 10 days of catastrophic rain, Kan Han-soo finally gets a clear day and immediately starts thinking about how badly his reputation was ruined. Professor Morals appears in his mind and tries to calm him down, but Kan Han-soo fixates on the mermaids and vows to make them pay for waking the catfish monster. The system pushes him toward helping Sieg grow instead, since Sieg is too valuable to let die wandering alone. Meanwhile, Alex keeps training Sieg so hard that the kingdom feels humiliated by his attempt to leave for the Holy Kingdom. Kan Han-soo orders the queen to move Alex, and she obediently delivers the command that a threat has appeared in the palace sewers. Alex rallies the palace knights, and even Sieg, beaten into the dirt, suddenly volunteers to go too. Alex accepts Sieg's request, even as Kan Han-soo quietly tries to join and gets rejected by both of them. Kan Han-soo lets them go, then heads off to build his own reputation instead of chasing the sewer expedition. 2 nights and 3 days later, Kan Han-soo throws a loud party at Tony's pub to celebrate Alex's death and win over the city with free drinks. The party crowd praises his kindness, but Lenovo keeps hanging around and irritating him with her shameless flirting. Alex really did die in the sewers after the knights chose to fight the level 450 Chimera instead of escaping. Saint to say cannot save Alex or most of the others, so Sieg survives with a huge level boost but comes back shaken, drunk, and grieving. Kang Han-soo tries to cheer Sieg up by saying he and Alex are one now, but Sieg breaks down crying over his dead mentor. Lenovo is shocked to learn that this world has no custom of honoring the dead with drinking parties, while Kang Han-soo insists his way is good enough. He realizes Lenovo can drink absurd amounts without collapsing, then Sieg suddenly stands up and declares he will inherit Alex's dream and go on an adventure right now. The morning after Sieg storms out, Kang Han-soo shrugs off the missing hero and keeps thinking about how he can survive the third playthrough instead of chasing after him. Lenovo rushes in with the real problem. Sieg has gone off on an adventure with 3 women by his side. Kang Han-soo learns the trio includes a priest, an archer, and a thief, and he instantly loses interest in killing the Demon King because Sieg's party has become too curious to ignore. But Sieg's escape creates more work, because the kingdom is already weaker after Alex's death and the palace knights have collapsed. He decides the demon worshippers need to become real military power before the kingdom's secret control leaks and ruins his reputation. Kang Han-soo gathers 300 green recruits and calls them the kingdom's future, even though they still look like nervous kids. He transforms them with dark energy, and their bodies change in front of everyone as black hair, black eyes, and horn-like growths appear. The recruits swear loyalty at once, and Kang Han-soo sends them out to level up fast and become his new Dark Knight force. He settles on a 1-month push, planning to build reputation from the kingdom while secretly preparing to travel and investigate Alola's destination later. Lenovo praises him as if he were Demon King Petinar himself, and Kang Han-soo snaps back at her for talking nonsense about a man she has never even seen. Kang Han-soo bitterly reviews his reputation, decides Alola already wrecked it, and resolves to fix everything by using the demon worshippers to praise him instead. 2 months later, the dark recruits have soared past level 200, while Sieg's adventure turns bizarrely into charity work and his party grows weaker instead of stronger. He hears Sieg wasting time helping an old woman with chores, then learns the party levels are actually dropping under his so-called heroism. Kang Han-soo decides Sieg must be a masochist, and then Aqua appears on the battlefield, stabbing down a level 615 orc chieftain with Saint Tisei behind her. Aqua cheerfully reassures him, and Kang Han-soo notes that Saint Tisei has kept following them even though he told her not to. With half a month already gone, Kang Han-soo keeps using Sieg's odd journey as training fuel for his own reputation plan, even as the current numbers keep climbing. Lenovo collapses from exhaustion, but Kang Han-soo immediately orders her back on her feet, showing that his gentle hero act only lasts so long. By the end, everything is going smoothly enough that Kang Han-soo feels confident his plan is working, at least for now. Kang Han-soo and his group keep sweeping nearby hunting grounds on the way to Alola's destination, chasing EXP while he complains that the old heroes only saved people after disaster struck. When Saint Tisei questions why he keeps dragging along weak Sieg instead of acting more efficiently, Kang Han-soo presses her on what Sieg's real strength is. Saint Tisei finally answers that Sieg's power is hope and nothing else, which only makes Kang Han-soo more suspicious about how this world treats heroes. The trolls flee when they spot the stronger party, and Kang Han-soo decides to imitate Sieg's nonviolence for once, and just observe them instead of attacking. That restraint collapses when the trolls ambush a noble's carriage and try to eat the baby inside, revealing just how vicious they really are. Kang Han-soo ends the fight with 1 knife hand strike, while Aqua, Lenovo, and Saint Tisei clean up the rest and heal the wounded. After the rescue, Kang Han-soo politely tells the terrified noblewoman that he is a hero, then calls in the Dark Knight Order to escort her caravan instead of wasting his own time. Kang Han-soo explains that his transformed followers are more than strong enough to guard the carriage, and the noblewoman panics before accepting the escort in a hurry. Once the carriage is moving again, Kang Han-soo realizes that Sieg's help it only when disaster hits method is too slow, so he decides to create a crisis himself to build reputation faster. He unleashes a thunderous roar that mimics Oblivion Dragon King Noibius, and every monster in the area panics and stampedes away. Saint Tisei is horrified to learn that he just caused a city emergency for reputation's sake, but Kang Han-soo insists it only looks like an attack and rushes to save the city. The city braces for impact as bells ring, citizens evacuate, and rumors spread that the Oblivion Dragon King himself may have returned. Kang Han-soo charges ahead of the swarm, yells that everyone should leave it to this hero, and orders Aqua and the others to stay back because they would slow him down. Using the SS rank massacre skill, he obliterates the monster swarm in a huge area, crushing them so thoroughly that only scattered stragglers remain. The city is saved with no human casualties, but Kang Han-soo's level barely rises, making him grumble that Massacre's EXP penalty is ridiculous. The citizens do not react the way he expects, and only Lenovo cheers him with real enthusiasm while the young city lord arrives trembling in gratitude. Sieg appears wounded in shabby armor after saving a woman from the carriage crash, and the crowd immediately starts praising him as the real hero. Watching Sieg win praise for saving just one person, Kang Han-soo realizes that public opinion matters more than raw heroics and decides to stop playing fair. He ends the volunteer-style detour, orders the party to head straight for Alola's destination, and begins planning a cold war to seize the continent's information networks. Kan Han-soo realizes he has climbed to the top of the demon chain under Demon King Pedinar, with only the hidden Archduke and Prince above him for now. He explains that demons have been quietly embedded across the continents for years because they fear humanity's guardian. Using bards and decoys, he twists public opinion so the world now praises hero Han-soo while also smearing Sieg as a womanizing failure. Aqua clings close to him and flirts openly, and he stays in a good mood as the long journey keeps moving forward. For days and weeks, they keep heading toward the place Yahello was drawn to, with no rescue incidents breaking the trip. When they finally reach the destination, Kan Han-soo is stunned to find that the hidden site lies beneath the ocean. Lenoble doubts the fisherman's legend, while Saint Tisay dismisses it as nonsense and insists the real holy sword is still elsewhere. Aqua immediately offers to dive in, but Kan Han-soo shuts that idea down by warning her about salted mermaid meat. Then Alola's cries rise from the water, and a red glow answers from the depths as Kan Han-soo decides to go alone. He leaves Aqua, Lenoble, and Saint Tisay in the fishing village and dives into the sea by shaping his body for underwater breathing. A massive arch-mermaid guardian blocks his path and orders him to leave the sea. Kan Han-soo mocks her warning, then grabs her by the hair and batters her face until her guardian defenses fail. He notices the mermaid was trying to erase his memory, but his black box effect blocks the singing completely. Dragging the dying guardian aside, he lets the coral barriers open and enters the hidden mermaid home. Inside, he follows Alola's voice to a preserved chaos mermaid, sealed in seaweed and coral with a crimson holy sword stuck through her tail. He claims the sword, and it fuses to his soul as a holy sword that only he can sheath and summon at will. Professor Morals appears in alarm, but Kan Han-soo brushes off the lecture and treats the sword theft like normal hero business. The mermaid guardian dissolves into bubbles, and Kan Han-soo admits the new holy sword feels defective but still useful. Back on land, he returns to the fishing village just in time to hear that the elves have declared war after Sylvia was violated by humans. He learns Sieg is with the elves, but he dismisses the whole crisis as a messy side effect of his own earlier decision to let Sylvia be sold off. Instead of worrying, he declares that he already has a perfect way to stop the race war and thinks about forcing the sides to meet head-on. Kan Han-soo turns the elf army into a slaughter zone, cutting down wave after wave while using the battle to boost his own reputation. He tests Holy Sword 2 and finds that its skill-boosting effect makes Massacre much larger and stronger than before. The furious Elf King tries to summon countless elementals, but Nasus suddenly stabs him from behind with Endymion and kills him on the spot. With the king dead, Nasus declares that Elfheim will surrender, shocking Sylvia and Sieg into shouting at him in outrage. Nasus' status puts him far above Sylvia, and the fight collapses fast when he cuts down her elemental summon and punches her in the stomach. Nasus leaves Sylvia alive only as a truce hostage, and Sieg rushes in to protect his girlfriend just as a strange golden sword appears in his hand. Kan Han-soo realizes the sword in Sieg's hand is the real Holy Sword 1, the same automatic weapon he knew from the first playthrough. Holy Sword 1 carries Sieg through a clean duel, fighting almost by itself while the cheering crowd around him feeds its power. The sword's ultimate move breaks through Nasus' defense and sends the mini-boss to his knees before Sieg's borrowed glory. Sieg turns on Kan Han-soo and accuses him of slaughtering peaceful elves, but Kan Han-soo coolly calls out Sieg's hypocrisy and Alex's death. Kan Han-soo rushes forward, uses Holy Sword 2 to mess with Holy Sword 1's automatic defense, and lands a clean hit when Sieg's rhythm breaks. He explains that Holy Sword 1 only works through automatic reactions, then proves the flaw by punching Sieg in the head while the sword hesitates. When the cheering women boost Holy Sword 1 again, Kan Han-soo answers by summoning Holy Sword 2 and cutting them down first. Sieg unleashes Holy Sword 1's full brilliance, but Kan Han-soo tanks the blow with stacked defenses and only gets a tiny scratch. Kan Han-soo finishes the lesson by slicing off Sieg's right arm, proving Holy Sword 2 is the weapon for professionals. With the elf war settled, Kan Han-soo tallies the clean achievement, decides this is the perfect moment to strike Demon King Pedinar, and leaves the battlefield behind. He charges straight into the Demon King castle, smashing through the entrance as the demon guards are caught off guard. The Elf Queen quietly boosts Demon King Pedinar, then leaves so the final showdown can start. Pedinar stalls for time with a dramatic introduction, but Kan Han-soo cuts straight to asking about Yahello. Pedinar reacts to Holy Sword 2 with real caution, and Kan Han-soo pushes him to explain the secret before the fight starts. The duel ends instantly when Holy Sword 2 cuts through Pedinar and the demons sword together. Before dying, Pedinar warns him to show the cursed sword to the Oblivion Dragon King, then Kan Han-soo cuts him off and lets him die. Pedinar's dark energy pours into Kan Han-soo, and his status jumps hard after the kill. He unsummons Holy Sword 2, then waits for the adventure result with mixed feelings about how much he accomplished. The adventure result praises love, friendship, and growth, and Kan Han-soo realizes the demon worshippers were the real support behind his victory. His report card comes back with great combat and achievements, but the character grade is awful, so he fails. When he complains, the system starts a retest and drags him back into light. He erupts into the fourth playthrough, furious that the punishment for bad character is another reset. He tests Sieg immediately and discovers Sieg has regressed too, keeping only his memories. Kang Han-soo checks his own status and sees Black Box still intact, now upgraded from the last playthrough. A strange temporary teacher appears through the system, sounding nothing like Professor Morals, and Kang Han-soo immediately starts probing them. Kang Han-soo keeps baiting the new teacher about their gender and relationship status until the flustered instructor nearly breaks down. Sensing an opening, Kang Han-soo offers to become secret friends with the embarrassed trainee teacher. Kang Han-soo gets his bearings in the palace, ignoring Lenovo's cute act and deciding to cut straight to the king instead. In the audience chamber, he plays the perfect hero, promises to save the kingdom for free, and leaves the king and nobles relieved and satisfied. Lenovo keeps trying to stick to him, but Han-soo firmly pushes her off until she finally agrees to see him tomorrow. Alone in his assigned bedroom, Han-soo checks his status and sees that his preserved black box skills and the Holy Sword condition have followed him into the 4th playthrough. When he summons Holy Sword 2, the weapon boosts him hard enough to make even the hidden teacher panic at how the Holy Sword is still with him. He turns away the maid who comes offering herself for the night, choosing complete privacy instead. With nothing else to do, he meditates through the day and quietly raises a few skills while the teacher keeps watching. When night falls, he reveals his real plan: do absolutely nothing in the kingdom so the Greater can't punish him for bad behavior. He slips out of the palace window, jumps to the ground, and heads straight for the Demon King's territory instead of staying put. He crosses the border without fighting anyone, deliberately leaving monsters alive so no one can twist it into a character flaw. After weaving through Pedinar's traps like he already knows the route, he finally reaches the Demon King's castle in one day. Inside the throne room, he catches the Demon King dealing with the Elf Queen in the middle of an awkward captive romance disaster. Han-soo is furious because the king and queen haven't even gone all the way yet, and he storms in and interrupts them by force. Han-soo seizes the opening in the Demon King's room, kicks the Elf Queen off Pedinar's lap, and drives Holy Sword 2 straight through the weakened Demon King's chest. Pedinar can barely protest before dying, and Han-soo smugly frames the kill as a tactical victory. As the dead Demon King falls silent, Han-soo ignores the startled Elf Queen and waits for the grating he has been aiming for all along. The grating window praises his fake bonds and friendship anyway, and Han-soo silently mocks how hollow the whole thing sounds. His report card finally appears, and despite the insulting note about a monster born by the retests, he sees that he has passed. Relieved at last, Han-soo breaks into tears and celebrates the chance to finally leave this fantasy world and return to Earth. The light fades, and he wakes alone in a dark cave seated on a rough stone throne with a tunnel exit ahead. He checks his body and status, panics over losing the hero job, then breathes easier when Black Box still reveals his powerful retained skills and Holy Sword 2. With his body restored and his confidence back, Han-soo steps out of the cave expecting Earth, only to find a giant treed world with 2 moons overhead. When he yells at the teaching staff for cheating him out of graduation, a system message bluntly says his graduation is on hold because he abused the exam. Still stranded, Han-soo spots a stylish Earth-like woman nearby and realizes she might be a useful source of information. He politely asks where he is, but the woman answers with a smile and instantly tries to stab his throat. Han-soo cuts off both of her ankles and stomps her chest flat before she can scream, proving he recognized the fake friendliness immediately. He scares her into submission, then the wounded woman suddenly vanishes like a logged-out game avatar before he can get answers. The teaching staff panic over his unexpected return, but only the trainee teacher answers, greeting him like a friend and admitting she is cheering for him. Han-soo immediately treats her like his one real ally, joking that they are already friends now that he has graduated and become a member of society. She finally explains the truth. His graduation is only for alumni, and the place is actually a hero festival built around a survival competition. She tries to soften it as a friendly party event, but Han-soo immediately understands the real rule. He has to outlast the other alumni and take the prize from the survivors. Amused by his own reading of the rules, Han-soo thanks his secret friend for the warning and decides to use the advice to his advantage. The trainee teacher finally spills the basics. The hero festival has been running for 15 days, failed participants only lose a little level and leave, and the whole event is really a brutal training ground with rewards hidden inside it. When Han-soo realizes the festival time flows 10 times faster than Earth, he panics over how much time has really passed back home and then notices his loud voice has drawn other people to the spring. He sizes up the newcomers and immediately sees that the bear-like Wolf leads the group, with a lanky man and a pretty woman sticking close to him like a weak little party. Wolf sneers at Han-soo for being level 1 and tells him to run before he gets killed from eager EXP, which only makes Han-soo more interested in the word EXP. The moment Wolf confirms that killing raises levels here, Han-soo grins, summons Holy Sword 2, and cuts Wolf's head off in one clean sideways slash. With Wolf dead, Han-soo's level jumps enough to make the next 2 kills effortless, and he wipes out the terrified couple before casually wishing them a happy life when they return to Earth. After the bodies vanish and leave behind clothes, supplies, and money, Han-soo is thrilled to realize how much better this loot is than the junk he started with. The system then twists his job into thief, but that only makes his hidden fortune skill come alive, revealing a passive effect that boosts luck and can even become absurdly strong with Holy Sword 2. To test the new luck, Hansu fights a wild troll, but the monster mostly destroys itself by slipping on a pebble, smashing its head, and tumbling into the spring. When Hansu finally kills the battered troll, fortune rises again, and he realizes this festival might be the perfect place to stack ridiculous luck before the job changes back. A freshwater mermaid suddenly pops up from the spring, complains about cramps in her tail, and then rewards Hansu for helping by kissing his hand and showering his skills with bonuses. Hansu decides the festival's events are far too profitable to ignore, shifts from wanting Earth news to wanting easy wins, and starts planning to thin the field until only 3 people are left. He asks the trainee teacher to guide him toward places packed with violent elves and earthlings so he can farm fortune more efficiently, and she awkwardly points him toward the southeastern wind and the road ahead. Hansu sprints southeast through the huge hero festival grounds, ignoring trainee teacher's warning about the wrong direction. He spots a giant Zelkova tree packed with scrambling contestants, all fighting each other to climb higher. After grabbing a passerby by the neck, Hansu learns the prize at the top is an Elf King's Tear replica. He kills the first man by accident, then hears from another contestant that the treasure is a rare elixir made from elf royalty. Below the tree, Hansu sees healer type graduates healing enemies for lost levels and realizes this festival rewards cowardly backline farming. Disgusted by the whole setup, Hansu summons Holy Sword 2 and slashes through the clustered healers and patients in one brutal sweep. The dead are expelled, the survivors surrender, and the whole event area falls silent around Hansu. A flashy grand human challenger steps in, acting like Hansu is the one breaking the rules. When the man draws a bronze demon sword and starts talking about order and punishment, Hansu instantly cuts off his head and the sword with it. The onlookers panic, but Hansu mockingly sends them home one by one and keeps cutting down anyone still lingering. With the tree area cleared, Hansu decides to take over the Elf King's Tear event for himself. He starts climbing the trunk, but the elf archers realize he is coming and open fire from every direction. Fortune's protection bends every arrow away from him, and he climbs straight through the storm without a scratch. Fortune rises again to A, and Hansu drinks the Elf King's Tear replica right at the treasure cache. Right after that, a meteor slams into the Zelkova tree and erases the whole event site in one blast. In the burnout remains, Hansu spots a dark secret tunnel at the tree roots and decides to trust luck again by jumping in. Hansu drops through the dark hole, lands safely thanks to Fortune, and finds a vast buried palace hidden beneath the festival grounds. He realizes the architecture feels like an Earth palace mixed from Korea, Japan, and China, and decides the hidden place is suspicious enough to investigate. When the trainee teacher warns him about the mystery, Hansu answers by smashing a new entrance through the wall instead of taking the front door. He ignores the teacher's cautious advice, picks the third path through the maze-like temple, and heads deeper for the real treasure. His luck fails when his left hand accidentally triggers a trap while holding a diamond, and iron cells open around him. 5 huge ogres burst out, but Hansu cuts them all down instantly and keeps moving without stopping. After more minor resistance, he reaches a grand set of sealed doors and decides the boss is inside. He blasts the doors open with a kick and finds a beautiful but dangerous elf king-like boss waiting inside. The boss recognizes Holy Sword 2 and starts asking questions, but Hansu immediately attacks before he can recover or call for help. Hansu reads the boss's absurdly powerful status, realizes this is not the same kind of weak elf king he has seen before, and kills him before the hidden daughter can interfere. With the boss dead, Hansu's level rises and his black box ranks up, making him wonder if these chaos races are all connected somehow. Just then, the boss's daughter rushes in and sees her father dead, and Hansu immediately turns to meet her. Hansu tries a surprise strike, but the extremely flexible elf girl slips around his blade and counters with a rapier. After checking her status, Hansu sees she is a chaos elf with monstrous agility, and the fight turns into a messy struggle he can barely control. Hansu deliberately lets her stab him, grabs the blade, wrestles her to the floor, and catches her by the ears to force her into submission. The fight gets embarrassingly close until Hansu headbutts her into unconsciousness, then starts thinking about asking her about the world and Holy Sword 2. Before he can question her, the supposedly dead boss suddenly stands behind them alive again, stronger than before and now openly claiming this place is an underground prison. Boss K explains that no one truly dies here because the underground prison revives them over time, and the whole place was built as a hell of endless suffering. Hansu finally sits down to hear the truth, but the ground starts shaking as an outside intruder notices the seal has broken, and the boss names them as angels. The palace shakes from another outside impact, and Hansu decides the talking is over as he summons Holy Sword 2 and wraps himself in dark energy and battle spirit. He refuses to trust the elf pair yet, and tells them to stay back if they plan to help. A pack of ogres rushes in, but Hansu ignores them as light from deeper inside the palace wipes them out in an instant. Hansu realizes the attackers are angels, and trainee teacher warns him that angels are the true enemies people face after the Demon King era. The first angels come into view, all pure white wings and level 999 plus status, and they accuse the hero of freeing sinners. Hansu laughs off their self-righteousness, then darts through the tight palace space where their wings only get in the way. He blindsides the male angel, bowls him into the female angel, and skewers both on Holy Sword 2 before flooding them with dark energy. The surviving angels panic when they realize he can use dark energy, and Han-Su keeps cutting off their escape until they break. Han-Su interrogates the captured angels, learns they see chaos users as evil, and hears that the holy sword he carries is actually the 5th holy sword. He wipes out the rest without mercy, then decides that every angel he meets from now on is getting erased. As he kills the last angel, his divinity skill rises to D rank, and he realizes he now holds both divine and dark power at once. He turns toward the inner palace again, but the story shifts to the underground prison buried under the giant Zelkova tree, where captivity has lasted for ages. An angel that slipped past the battle has cornered the elf father, and the father is already in a desperate last stand. The elf daughter rushes in with her rapier, but the angel's divinity explodes on contact and blasts her away with her weapon flying loose. The angel mocks them with a villain's smile, and Han-Su steps in, calling him a weak Sieg-like bastard before throwing Holy Sword 2 through his back. Trainee teacher explains that powerful divinity blocks almost everything except holy swords and dark energy, which is exactly why Han-Su won. Boss K has only moments left, so he begs Han-Su to take care of his daughter and praises her kindness, but the daughter protests through tears. Han-Su explodes at the father for handing off his daughter without asking him, then forces his brand new divinity power into the old elf's body like a straw. Han-Su forces the stolen divinity out of Boss K and claims it for himself, pushing the skill up to C rank in one shot. The strange voice in Han-Su's head complains that he is studying too hard, but he dismisses it as normal prep and not a problem. Boss K quickly heals, and Han-Su tells him to talk after recovering, because the real question is what the angel was hiding. Boss K starts talking too familiarly about his daughter, but Han-Su cuts through the awkward family act and orders him to spill everything from the beginning. Han-Su says he already knows the world is a farm for heroes, which shocks Boss K because Han-Su has seen this truth before in a previous playthrough. Boss K admits he learned the truth from a past hero and that angels are dangerous only to those who can break their defenses, which explains their limitations. Han-Su decides the elves are useful bait for drawing angels out, and the old prison survivors beg to travel with him so they can stay alive. On the way to Start City, Han-Su studies his fortune skill and decides luck is the safest way to survive his theft-heavy festival life. Han-Su chooses to enjoy the festival instead of worrying about grades, because he wants to rest before the next playthrough begins. After days of travel, Han-Su and the elves finally arrive at Start City, where he complains that everyone else got a better starting life than he did. Boss K and Elf K step into the sunlight for the first time in days, and Han-Su is stunned that the elf girl can endure a life this boring without losing her mind. Han-Su gets a hat from a nervous civilian couple and tries to hide the elves, though he knows their race will be noticed soon anyway. Boss K loudly insults elves in front of human women, and his daughter apologizes in embarrassment for having such a hopeless father. Then a yellow-haired delinquent calls out Han-Su's name, and Han-Su slowly realizes it is a classmate from a life that ended 11 years ago. Han-Su moves the elf father and daughter away from the sightseers and heads into Start City's inner market area with classmate A and Boss K. The cafe's modern comforts throw the elves off, and Han-Su starts to feel like he is the one who has fallen behind the times. Classmate A casually explains chamomile and coffee like a local expert, making Han-Su feel even more countrified. Han-Su asks how long classmate A stayed in the fantasy world, and the answer turns out to be only 3 years. Classmate A boasts about building a harem, recruiting companions, and beating the Northern Continent's sword princess with Holy Sword 1. Han-Su realizes classmate A's entire party was built around women, and the ridiculous romance route leaves him speechless. When Han-Su says he cleared the Demon King's castle in a single day, classmate A laughs it off and treats hero adventures like private bragging rights. The talk shifts to Earth, and Han-Su can only wonder what happened to his parents, and what kind of place Earth has become. After the meeting, classmate A promises to pass along news that Han-Su is doing fine, then leaves with a teenage hero girl linked arm in arm beside him. Boss K and the elf daughter marvel at the city, but Han-Su ignores their sightseeing and commits to stealing from the Great Temple. He sends Boss K and the elf daughter outside to make noise, then pushes ahead with a reckless temple heist plan. Instead of a thief, Han-Su's job suddenly changes to saint, and his fortune skill becomes dangerously unclear even with Holy Sword 2 active. His chance to sneak in collapses, and Han-Su panics over how useless an auxiliary saint job is for a robbery. Then the whole city mistakes him for a real saint, and the crowd erupts around him in instant excitement. As the city goes wild, a lovely saintess steps out from the temple entrance and politely offers to guide Han-Su inside. Saintess H leads Han-Su into the great temple garden, where her perfect saintly look hides a terrifying amount of power. Han-Su notices the garden is guarded by SSS rank golems, and realizes brute force would get him killed before he could reach the treasure storehouse. Saintess H explains that 514 demon worshippers are imprisoned in the temple and asks Han-Su to reform them for points and rewards. When Han-Su sees the treasure storehouse, he starts examining the rewards and immediately fixates on the idea of pricing Saintess H herself. Han-Su talks Saintess H into agreeing that she belongs in the treasure storehouse too, then sets her price at 500 points, and calmly reveals his overwhelming dark energy. The demon worshippers are revealed to be powerful captured heroes, but Han-Soo scares them into kneeling just by showing SSS rank dark energy. Instead of rushing, Han-Soo works through the prisoners one by one, slowly converting them while secretly soaking up their divinity for himself. After 3 prisoners are converted, Sanctus H thanks Han-Soo sincerely, and he asks her to let his companions stay inside the temple. Boss K and his daughter are brought into the temple, and Boss K immediately warns Han-Soo that Sanctus H is dangerous because she is tied to the teaching staff. Han-Soo explains that the same Sanctus always meets the summoned graduates first, convincing himself she is a key part of the event structure. The reformed prisoners begin worshipping Han-Soo instead of Sanctus H, which turns the entire event into a strange loyalty scam. Han-Soo convinces Sanctus H to pay an extra point for each prisoner's trust, turning the event into a 2-point system and pushing his total upward fast. As the tally climbs, Han-Soo uses the reformed prisoners as a human bridge to win Sanctus H's trust, and she slowly starts relaxing around him. Han-Soo keeps his pace controlled at first, but once the Sanctus is fully softened, he starts reforming the prisoners much faster. Among the captives, Han-Soo finds a former cardinal with huge divinity, strips away his resistance, and turns him into a blissful archpriest of dark energy. The converted prisoners start praising Han-Soo to Sanctus H all day, and their devotion makes her increasingly flustered and worn out. By the time the point total surges past 300, Sanctus H is exhausted, while Han-Soo keeps feeding the prisoners lines that make her trust him even more. At last, Sanctus H quietly asks Han-Soo to meet her in a secluded spot in the garden, hinting that she wants a private talk. Inside the great temple's dim garden paths, several graduates spot the Sanctus and the rumored saint and start whispering as they trail after them. The pair slip away from the followers, and Sanctus H nervously asks Han-Soo to hold her hand while hinting she has more than one motive. Han-Soo recognizes the garden's distortion as a simple enchantment built from geomancy and dragon veins, then follows Sanctus H to a hidden pavilion. Sanctus H confesses her feelings and rushes into Han-Soo's arms, and he immediately turns the moment into a physical advantage instead of letting her pull away. Han-Soo calmly keeps going until a nearby watch golem gets in the way, then he blocks its view and the hidden encounter continues off to the side. Days later, Han-Soo keeps draining Sanctus H's endless divinity and confirms that the temple's external protection is the reason her power never runs dry. With Sanctus H's help, he spends points on divinity potions, breaks through to divinity SSS, and celebrates the strength boost as a major milestone. He shares the leftover potions with Boss K and the other father-daughter pair, then buys dark energy weapons for them in case the angels prove too strong. Han-Soo considers buying Sanctus H for the chaos value alone, because skipping the guide would make the arriving graduates panic and stress the staff. He also experiments with summon and storage potions, but only reaches modest ranks, deciding the second skill is worth buying anyway because it is a forbidden convenience skill in Fantasia. After spending more points on energy, a princess's garter belt, and Sanctus H herself, Han-Soo officially binds her to him and empties his point total. The temple's golems immediately react to the disturbance and rush the storehouse, forcing Han-Soo to draw Holy Sword 2 and fight back in close quarters. Divinity SSS overwhelms the first pair of golems, but the damage echoes through the temple and wakes the rest of the guardians all at once. As 3,139 golems begin swarming in, Sanctus H and the elf ally panic, Boss K keeps gulping potions into chaos, and Han-Soo prepares the real counterattack. Han-Soo activates dark energy with divinity and calls on the 514 reformed demon worshippers, turning the saint event into the start of a full massacre inside the temple. The great temple erupts into chaos as golems and demon worshippers slaughter each other, while the overwhelmed graduates get swept aside by the fighting. Han-Soo tries to grab a potion, only to hit an invisible barrier and realize the temple has put a crime prevention restriction on outsiders. Sanctus H hits the same barrier, so Han-Soo sends Boss K and Elf K to strip the treasure storehouse bare instead. The K pair devour the potion stockpile, wiping out the festival rewards and effectively wrecking hundreds of planned events. Han-Soo learns the teachers are forbidden to interfere in the middle of the festival, which is both useful and annoying since it leaves him free to keep going. With no teacher intervention coming, Han-Soo unleashes the demon worshippers, and they start crushing the temple golems row by row. The battle still grinds toward mutual destruction, so Han-Soo uses his trump card and orders Sanctus H to resurrect the fallen. Sanctus H sings, a ring of divine light spreads out, and the dead demon worshippers rise back to their feet. The last golem falls, and Han-Soo realizes the temple's defeat is sealed because Sanctus H can keep recycling his allies. Han-Soo claims the great temple itself and orders his followers to arm themselves with its treasures, turning the prize room into his war chest. The demon worshippers arm up with top-grade rewards, and Sanctus H follows by layering a divine blessing over the whole force. Fully equipped and blessed, the demon worshippers now look terrifying enough to march like a disaster on legs. Later, Han-Soo meets Professor Morals again, and the teacher suggests he may end up guiding Han-Soo through a 6th playthrough too. Han-Soo sighs at the idea of another playthrough, while Elf K urgently points him towards something in the sky. A black dragon appears in the sky, dragged by angels on a silver leash, and Han-Soo instantly recognizes the Oblivion Dragon King. This Noibius is smaller and younger than the dying one Hansu remembers, but it still carries the same terrifying destructive power. At the angel's order, Noibius exhales black venom that floods the battlefield and turns the entire area into a land of death. Sanctus H, Boss K, and Elf K survive the venom, but the demon worshippers are annihilated so thoroughly they cannot be brought back. Hansu suspects Professor Morals must be behind the angel strike, then raises Holy Sword 2 to answer back. Instead of attacking, the dragon freezes at the sight of Holy Sword 2, staring at it like it has triggered an old memory. Hansu realizes this is the same bait Demon King Petinar hinted at, and a strange saint status window starts to mutate into chaos. Hansu realizes his job has become a bizarre mosaic chaos class, but the only thing he can read is that its perk has gone up. The Oblivion Dragon King lands in front of him and lowers its head to Holy Sword 2, leaving the angels hanging on for dear life. Hansu understands the dragon wants him to act, so he steps in while the angels panic and accuse him of touching the sealed Holy Sword. He rushes the bandaged archangel, punches through her defense, and grabs her by the neck before she can whip him. Hansu strips her divinity out through a forceful kiss, and the shocked angels rush in only to watch their leader get drained dry. The dragon breaks free of its tamers the moment their connection is severed, and the angels suddenly become its prey. Noibius keeps hunting them down, crushing one fleeing angel with its tail and swallowing another whole as the rest scatter in terror. Hansu finishes off the exhausted archangel, takes her EXP, and jokes that a 30-second date is enough to make them eternal partners. With the angels wiped out, Hansu tosses the corpse to Noibius, then frees the dragon by using Holy Sword 2 like the key it was meant to be. He shrinks the impossible restraint and stores it away, deciding it is too dangerous to leave lying around even if he plans to use it later. Noibius regains its kingly presence, and Hansu climbs onto its head, ready to ride the freed dragon into the next battle. Boss K, Elf K, and Sanctus H rush over trying to follow him, but Hansu tells Boss K to raise a bigger force for the next festival and scolds the elves' human hatred. He throws a crude future warning at Elf K, then orders Sanctus H to support him while sticking close enough to survive the ride. Hansu collars Sanctus H to the dragon by the horn, forming a bizarre two-person and one-dragon party and launching into the sky. The graduates stare in awe as the legendary dragon appears overhead, and Hansu tells Noibius to scare them senseless with its venom. Hansu decides not to waste time hunting the whole festival, and Sanctus H reveals that the angels guard the main reward somewhere inside their hidden palace. Using Noibius's old captivity to his advantage, Hansu leads the dragon straight toward the angels' hidden world in the clouds. Hansu charges Holy Sword 2 with both dark energy and divinity at once, and he and Noibius prepare to strike the angels head-on. Noibius suddenly rains poison over the angels' palace and melts the white roof into black ruin as panicked angels scramble out. Most of the angels are wiped out before they can even react, and Noibius roars proudly over the devastation. A squad of high-level angels rushes in, but Hansu dismisses their supposed elite status as nothing special. He swings Holy Sword 2 and obliterates a huge section of sky and ground at once, shredding the angels through their divine defenses. As the angels scream and fall, Hansu mocks their so-called higher curriculum and keeps cutting them down. A flashy SSS rank angel arrives on a winged unicorn and pierces Noibius for the first time, finally drawing blood. Hansu realizes the angel is absurdly strong, and the unicorn proves just as dangerous with lightning from its horn. Hansu orders Sanctus H to heal, and her song instantly restores Noibius while her own level rises from the recovery. The healer-dragon pairing keeps pressing forward, and the angels realize their hit-and-run attacks are no longer working. When the angel and unicorn go for Noibius's eyes, Hansu drops straight into close combat and kicks the unicorn's wing joint. He lets the angel spear him on purpose, grabs the spear, and stabs Holy Sword 2 into the angel's shoulder in one ruthless counter. The angel escapes upward, abandons the unicorn, and Hansu watches the holy mount get swallowed by Noibius in an instant. The angel begs about morality, but Hansu cuts him off and fires Holy Sword 2 like a projectile into his lower body. Back on Noibius's head, Hansu calmly checks the aftermath while Sanctus H reports that 986 angels are still alive. Hansu orders her to keep counting until the number reaches 0, treating her special power like a clean-up tool. The dragon's poison ruin still leaves the festival reward hidden somewhere inside, and Hansu starts searching the wreckage. Noibius digs out a huge rectangular vault from the wreckage, and Sanctus H confirms the surviving angels are packed inside it. A group of angels finally steps out of the vault, and Hansu immediately demands to speak to their representative. Hansu refuses to hear excuses, calls himself the victim, and starts demanding compensation for the emotional damage they caused. Hansu lets the kneeling angel bargain for the lives of the women and children, but Noibius's glare makes it clear the dragon won't be so merciful. The angels reveal the treasure vault and unpack piles of weapons, shields, potions, clothes, tools, books, and accessories as Hansu sizes up the loot with cold disappointment. Rep A presents the main reward instead, 3 sealed summoning rings meant for the final winners, and Hansu immediately thinks they look worthless. Hansu summons the Type A angel anyway, and a flashy lancer named Sexy Riel bursts out in rainbow light before striking a confident pose in barely their armor. Holy Sword 2 reacts to the prize, the rings crack apart, and the summoned angel vanishes before she can even finish her first appearance. The shattered ring power gets sucked into Holy Sword too, and Hansu's summoned skill jumps all the way from D to S in one absurd burst. Saintess H's collar suddenly snaps onto the sword, then she is dragged away in a flash and rematerializes above him as a chaos angel with wings, a garter belt, and the same obedient mind. Hansu tells her to go in, she obeys instantly, and his status explodes with new inherited skills, Festival and Infinite. Festival lets him move events forward, Infinite freezes rank loss, and Hansu realizes those two administrator-grade skills will keep his weaker abilities from decaying. The angels expect the hidden anti-crime system to wake the temple guardians, but nothing moves, so Hansu stuffs as much treasure as he can into his weak storage before the festival can slip away. When Noibius turns back toward the angels, Hansu steps aside and treats the dragon's revenge like someone else's problem. A fake story prompt interrupts, praising Hansu as the festival's victor and forcing the closing ceremony to start even though the ground is still full of graduates. His report card appears with brutal scores for combat, achievements, reputation, and character, and Hansu can only scoff at the ridiculous grading. The festival ends in a flash, and Hansu opens his eyes somewhere completely different. He wakes up in a coliseum instead of the palace, and the festival's final three are gathered there with a new choice: kill each other and steal the prize, or cooperate for a huge EXP reward. Seeing the mess, Hansu decides the easiest solution is to wipe out nearly everyone himself, and keep only 2 survivors alive. Hundreds of graduates are trapped in the Colosseum when Hansu starts the slaughter, sending a black and white massacre wave through the crowd and triggering his job change into slaughterer. Mass panic hits as the survivors scream surrender and flee, leaving the Colosseum nearly empty while Hansu casually counts down the remaining opponents. An assassin sneaks in from behind, but Hansu instantly turns and cuts him down, mocking the idea that surprise alone can beat raw status. A stylish couple charges together, but Hansu targets the weaker partner, breaks the man's defense, and shatters their teamwork in one brutal exchange. Hansu then crushes a self-proclaimed real man who boasts about protecting women, and he finishes him with a savage dark energy strike meant to leave nightmares behind. Only 2 women remain, and Hansu studies the sorcerer's dangerous gear and the nervous swordswoman beside her before the final minute ticks away. The sorcerer realizes Hansu has hidden his true status, then accuses him of engineering the festival for a reward and warns she will remember his face on Earth. When the festival grants shared EXP for the 3 survivors, Hansu's skills all rise at once, and divinity finally breaks through to max rank. The awards end too fast, the 2 women vanish back to Earth, and Hansu is dragged into a new retest while the staff panics over how to handle him. Hansu wakes groggy from the backlash, hears Lenovo calling him brother, and realizes he is lying in a shabby commoner's room instead of a royal setup. Seeing the shabby house and hearing that he is being treated as a native of this world, Hansu opens the window and bursts out laughing at the absurd setup. Hansu stares out the window and realizes he has been dropped into a filthy fantasy village, complete with dirt roads, wooden houses, livestock, and all. He immediately starts suspecting the whole family setup, so he presses Lenovo on what his name is. Lenovo breezily insists that brother is brother, and acts like not knowing his name is perfectly normal, which only irritates him more. Hansu holds back from lashing out and instead inspects the closet, where the only clothes are oversized, rough commoner garments. Lenovo catches him about to change and protests from the doorway, but he throws his uniform at her and threatens to strip her instead. After changing into shabby village clothes, Hansu follows Lenovo into the living room and finds no strange hidden family twist waiting there. The table is already covered with a surprisingly lavish meal, and Hansu realizes Lenovo's cooking is far better than this poor house should allow. After eating, Lenovo uses livelihood magic to clean and freeze the leftovers into storage, making the meal feel almost like a final feast. Hansu checks Lenovo's status and sees that she is still level 200, but her job has become scholar, which explains her boosted knowledge and sorcery. Convinced the fake sister setup is part of the fantasy god's plan, Hansu decides to watch Lenovo carefully, and leaves her behind to sort out the village on his own. He opens his own status and sees the humiliating reset, level 1, hero job, and only a tiny fragment of his old power showing. He switches to black box and gets his real chaos human status back, loaded with a mountain of skills and the special condition Holy Sword, Saintess. He inspects Infinite and learns its key rule: healing or blessings will no longer cost him levels or EXP. Next he opens Divinity Max and discovers that Max is only the gateway to a deeper limit break system that requires sacrifice. He starts dumping low-rank skills into the breakthrough, but the growth bar barely moves and only reaches 6%. When trainee teacher warns him that the limit break is brutal, he refuses to stop and keeps sacrificing more of his accumulated skills. He pushes through the loss of A rank, S rank, and then SS rank skills, treating the whole thing like clearing out an old savings jar. Even after sacrificing even more high-rank skills, he still refuses to back down, comparing the loss to the 10 years the regression already stole from him. At last he completes the breakthrough, turning Divinity from Max into Z and feeling like he has just emptied an entire premium game account. His status now looks stripped down, but the new divinity Z power immediately proves it is far beyond normal strength. The villagers around him suddenly collapse into tears and worshipful awe, because his very presence now radiates divine holiness. Hansu hams it up and tells the villagers they will be happy if they look into his eyes, fully leaning into his newfound sacred aura. Lenovo rushes up behind him, warns him not to abandon his little sister, and starts introducing him to the neighbors. Hansu agrees that the neighbors look like a decent bunch, and he quietly judges them easier to handle than demon worshippers. Hansu settles into Start Village and realizes the locals are treating him like a holy celebrity, feeding him, housing him, and showering him with gifts he never asked for. A fortnight later, Lenovo complains at Hansu like a jealous little sister, while he notes that she only barely resists his divinity and seems tied to the teaching staff's influence. Hansu checks his growth and sees he has rebuilt his body and skills through steady training, but he still needs adventuring to push his ranks higher. Miss Trainee Teacher's advice confirms the rule Hansu just discovered: repeated sacrifice only works if the skills are different, so he starts planning to grow a wide set of abilities instead. Lenovo pushes a village legend about a mermaid and a mighty holy sword, but Hansu immediately questions the bait because he already has Holy Sword 2 and does not need another one. Miss Trainee Teacher keeps nudging him toward the sword legend, but Hansu decides to follow the curriculum instead of indulging in adventure for its own sake. When Villager K asks for help curing his feverish daughter, Hansu immediately turns the request into a negotiation and forces the price upward. The villagers side with Hansu, Villager K breaks down in shame, and the deal is upgraded to a full plus the promised horse milk before Hansu heads to the stable to treat the girl. Inside the shabby stable, Hansu finds the daughter dying of fever and nearly out of time, but he brushes off the urgency and moves straight to her bedside. Hansu silences Lenovo, places his hand on the girl's forehead, and instantly cools the fever that was supposed to kill her. The family collapses into gratitude, feeds Hansu horse meat and cheese, and the recovered girl suddenly wakes up hungry and lively again. By nightfall the matter is settled. Hansu leaves the foal behind, and he grumbles at Lenovo for insisting on the harder route when his easy fix worked perfectly. Just as Hansu thinks the day is still under control, screams break out across the streets, and a mercenary gang suddenly starts terrorizing the village. The mercenaries spread through the village to seize women and goods, then leer at Hansu and Lenovo before realizing they have picked the wrong targets. Annoyed by the misunderstandings and the threat to the village, Hansu flicks a finger and unleashes a holy wave that wipes the mercenaries out in one sweep. His massacre skill ranks up again, and Hansu coolly declares himself the hero, even if the whole situation has completely gone off the planned sword legend route. After wiping out the mercenaries, Hansu makes the village chief handle the cleanup, and quietly keeps half the sale money flowing back to the village without exposing anyone to revenge. Lenovo beams at him as they leave the village, and Hansu orders her to lead him to the pond so he can get the next legend checked off the curriculum. The two arrive at the flower-filled pond, and Hansu approaches the water on guard, ready to cut down anything that rises out of it. Hansu warns Lenovo that her standing angle is bad, and the moment she jumps back, a mermaid bursts from the pond exactly where she had been. The mermaid insists she is the Holy Sword Guardian, but Hansu mocks the test as useless and exposes that he is already a hero. When the mermaid brings up the legend of the mightiest holy sword, Hansu dismisses the old story and says his own sword is better because it can revive Saintess H and even works like a warm pack. Ashamed, the mermaid tosses the old sword into the pond, and Hansu realizes the story has shifted in a way that might hide a clue in the sword's soul. Hansu calls the mermaid back, decides to ask the sword itself, and gets ready to pull out the new holy sword properly. The mermaid presents the new Holy Sword 3, an ego sword with the soul of a beautiful ancient hero sealed inside it. Hansu immediately brushes off the sword's spirit's introduction and demands the real mission details instead of wasting time on polite talk. The sword starts teaching him basic training, but Hansu answers by cutting apart the forest in one brutal divine strike and asking for the next instruction. Holy Sword 3's grand lesson ends almost immediately, and Hansu decides it was never worth taking seriously anyway. Hansu hands Holy Sword 3 to Lenovo, and the sword instantly starts shrinking to fit her small frame. What was supposed to be a heavy holy sword turns into a light dagger, and Lenovo happily fits it into a new sheath at her belt. Lenovo explains that the sword mentioned a hidden ruin north of here, near the snowy mountain. Hansu recognizes the place as a restricted cave tied to royal territory and decides to skip it for now. Instead of heading straight for the ruin, he chooses to go to a city first because he wants to meet someone old. They arrive in the Magic Kingdom, where Hansu immediately spots the Shining Sage's Tower City ahead. When Lenovo asks what lies in the Tower City, Hansu names the Sage's Tower while she pouts at how much he already knows. Hansu heads straight for the Sage because he plans to steal the staff and test Virgin A's claim about the Ice Witch. The gate line is huge, but the people ahead of Hansu just keep giving way once they realize who is walking through. At the checkpoint, the chief guard briefly resists Hansu's presence, but his holy pressure crushes that resistance instantly. Inside the Tower City, Hansu moves through the controlled streets while Lenovo gets excited by the magic carpets overhead. Hansu heads for the White Ivory Tower at the city's center, remembering how this place once fell to ruin. At reception, the staff politely send him straight to the top floor even though he never made an appointment. Han-soo slips into the tower's magic stairs and rides the elevator-like lift upward with Lenovo complaining beside him. On the sage's private floor, the blonde archmage finally appears and warns them not to get cute in front of him. Lenovo gets scared and asks if they can apologize, but Han-soo just pats her head and keeps provoking the sage. The sage raises a fireball crackling with lightning, but Han-soo answers by summoning Saintess H in his arms. The sage is instantly wrecked by the sight, bleeding from the nose and collapsing in a dazed, happy faint. The sage is still reeling from the underwear accident when Han-soo calmly heals him with holy power instead of letting him die from the nosebleed. Han-soo's failed purification flips the sage's dark energy out of balance. Then he forces even more corruption into him until the archmage falls fully asleep and his status turns corrupted. Lenovo complains that the sage is a hopeless pervert, but Han-soo defends him just enough to ignore the room's loot and take only the sage's staff as his real target. They leave the tower with the sage's gift and head down into the dazzling Magic City, where Han-soo decides to spend the day testing fortune in the city's gambling district. At the Magic Arena, Han-soo randomly splits his money across several fighters while Lenovo makes her own picks and shamelessly draws every eye in the reception line. Han-soo drags Lenovo away from the chaos. Then both of them step into the arena to watch golem fighters smash each other while the crowd screams for money and victory. Han-soo realizes the Magic Arena is really a safe family gambling show built around expensive golem repairs, and he starts scanning the crowd for someone important instead of just watching the fight. The sage suddenly appears next to Han-soo, freshly recovered with tissue in his nose, and admits he used a blood transfusion to bounce back so fast. When the sage starts begging Han-soo to teach him romance by replaying the underwear memory, he instantly triggers another nosebleed and collapses in front of the horrified spectators. Lenovo delivers the final twist by saying Holy Sword 3 wants the pervert to travel with them, and Han-soo realizes the new companion proposal has just made the journey much harder. The sage is hauled away on a stretcher again, and Han-soo immediately starts wondering if his virginity problem should be solved by force. Han-soo and Lenovo keep watching the arena matches as their bets keep landing on the winning numbers one after another. When number 16 loses, Han-soo spots the beautiful number 15 and realizes she is a dark commerce agent using a mass-produced Crimson War Golem. Han-soo recognizes number 16 as the future war god and decides to follow him instead of staying with Lenovo. He tracks the defeated magician to the temporary storage area and checks his status. But the man looks like a depressed nobody with almost no usable magic skills. A stabbed engineer begs the young magician to save golem knowledge from the dark commerce, then dies before he can finish speaking. The terrified magician flees, and the dark commerce thugs complain over the corpse before leaving him behind in the dirt. Han-soo summons Saintess H and orders her to resurrect the engineer, then claims the man now owes him his life. Han-soo takes the engineer's hidden research to the tower first, and the sage arrives there still pale from the blood loss. The sage and the engineer immediately clash, but Han-soo shuts them down and announces a blue golem project to fight the dark commerce's crimson machines. Working together under threat and pressure, the two geniuses build a prototype archgolem charged with Han-soo's divinity. The finished golem ends up looking nothing like Han-soo's dream of a super robot, and he explodes in outrage when he sees the strangely feminine design. The sage and the engineer finish their disastrous prototype, and Han-soo leaves them to their pointless golem dream. He leaves still thinking about the super robot he wanted, only to come home to Lenovo calling him late with obvious irritation. At the Magic Arena, Han-soo sees his bets split between wins and losses, and Lenovo smugly beats him with her lucky guesses. He pretends the betting money is nothing, but Lenovo argues that her mental work still counts as effort and Han-soo just sulks. They head out toward the hidden ruins, and the monsters on the road panic and flee from Han-soo's holiness. Han-soo complains that the hero grows weaker by leveling up, and the trainee teacher pushes back with the usual love and friendship lecture. Lenovo leads the way to the king's private hunting ground, where sentries let them pass because Han-soo's holiness is better than any pass card. Han-soo spots the weak orcs living there, and Lenovo blasts them with the sage's staff before they can run far. Ignoring the screaming monsters, the pair keeps going until a barrier gives way and a hidden cave finally appears. Lenovo says only the hero can enter, and Han-soo happily threatens Holy Sword 3 before stepping inside alone. Inside the cave, Han-soo finds demon murals and a strange training room that already looks like it's mocking him. The moment he checks his status, everything has been stripped away except divinity, and even his black box skill has changed into a strange locked form. Even at level 1, he smashes the first wooden doll in one punch. More wooden dolls drop from the ceiling, but Han-soo keeps smashing them while the cave slowly starts feeding him harder waves. The room finally opens an exit, and Han-soo realizes this ridiculous training will just keep repeating at higher ranks. He blasts through expert, specialist, dominator, victor, and challenger rooms without slowing down. At last he reaches the transcendence room and freezes, because someone is already standing there ahead of him. Han-soo and the prince size each other up in the sealed training room and immediately realize the other is dangerous. Han-soo notices the prince has 2 Z-rank skills and far more experience than he expected, while trainee teacher warns him this is an old generation hero who should not be here. The prince insults current heroes and launches a surprise attack before Han-Soo can fully prepare. Han-Soo blocks the blow, but the prince's wrist snaps from Divinity's deflection effect, exposing the room's rule that only transcendental power can matter here. Han-Soo realizes the prince's best skills are useless here, then taunts him back and reaches for the wooden club at his belt. They trade blows at the same time, but Han-Soo comes out ahead by letting the prince damage him while he crushes the prince's shoulder and head. Han-Soo keeps hammering the prince's head until the arrogant fighter is dazed, bloody, and almost finished. The prince should already be dead, but he still will not stay down, leaving Han-Soo frustrated and wary. 5 steel dolls drop from the ceiling at the worst possible time, forcing Han-Soo to use the prince as a blunt weapon and finish him for good. The steel dolls prove tough, but Han-Soo's holy power shreds them apart one by one until the room falls quiet. When Han-Soo looks for the corpse, the prince suddenly reappears at the entrance alive, then admits this place simply revives people. The prince vows revenge and tries to leave, but Han-Soo's habit has already wrecked his lower back, sending him limping for the exit. Han-Soo decides not to chase him, because outside the cave of training the prince would recover his real power and become genuinely dangerous. A golden guardian golem then appears as the next room's boss, but it also falls apart once Han-Soo's divinity beats its defenses. The next door opens into the graduate's room, where a noble female elf priest welcomes Han-Soo with a smile that does not match the dolls waiting behind her. Han-Soo reaches the graduate's room and finds a bizarre temple garden inside the cave, with blue sky, flowers, and a grand shrine waiting ahead. The priest explains that the temple was built to honor the hero of origin, the legendary Senior One, and that it has been hidden away for a long time. She leads him through the empty, over-maintained temple and warns him not to end up like the hero of origin, who went out of control after his great victory. At the deepest shrine, they stop before another golden statue of Senior One, and Han-Soo realizes it is holding a pale green holy sword. The priest calls it the sword that accompanied Senior One for life, but Han-Soo brushes off her strange widow talk and says he already has his own holy sword. She finally reveals the truth. Senior One went berserk, abandoned his companions, and was eventually defeated and driven away by the people who had supported him. She begs Han-Soo not to repeat that mistake, then lays out the 3 trials: defeat the statue, earn the sword's approval, and absorb the power sealed inside it. Han-Soo agrees and steps up to the statue, and the golden golem awakens the instant it senses someone reaching for the holy sword. The statue's status reveals a level 100 chaos golem with black box-style powers, and Han-Soo immediately realizes he is badly outmatched. The priest throws a blessing from behind, and Han-Soo's job changes into paladin as a new Z-rank blessing skill appears in his status window. With stacked blessings on top of his own divine power, Han-Soo catches the holy sword barehanded, crushes the golem's weakness, and cuts it down in one brutal finish. The sword does not fall away. It merges into Han-Soo's mind, and black power leaks from the shattered golem into him as the priest calls it a successful transfer of the stolen power. Then she slips into a sweet, dangerous confession, saying he will forget everything and belong to her as a perfect hero, and Han-Soo smiles back as if he agrees. Instead of accepting her, Han-Soo twists her neck, then kisses her and uses the holy sword's energy to force a strange new effect through her throat. The priest's mind finally gave out under Black Box, and she obediently called Han-Soo master with a deadened voice. Her status collapses into a level 1 slave, stripped of her noble priest role and reduced to a tool under the holy sword's control. Before he can decide how to use her, her body starts crumbling into sand and the holy sword fractures like glass. The power inside both of them has already been absorbed into Han-Soo, and his job unexpectedly shifts into a divine poke role. The trainee teacher finally speaks up through the system, which makes Han-Soo realize he needs to investigate Hero of Origin Senior 1 and Black Box more carefully. With the path opened by the fallen statue, Han-Soo leaves the cave of training without looking back. Back outside, Lenovo greets him with fake-cute respect, calling him Sir Hero and acting like the Holy Sword told her to stop being a little sister. Han-Soo catches on that the Holy Sword may have been interfering again, just like the teaching staff behind the training. Then they hear desperate screams from the hunting ground, and Lenovo instantly wants to rush in even though Han-Soo insists it makes no sense. A princess in a fluttering dress and heels runs in anyway, and an orc grabs her by the wrist before pulling her into its embrace. Lenovo shoots the orc dead with the sage's staff and proudly claims the kill as Han-Soo mocks the monster's bad luck. Han-Soo checks the frightened girl's status and confirms she is a princess from the royal line, not someone from his memories. He hands the princess to Lenovo and activates the strength he regained from training, ready to clean up the whole hunting ground. The training gave him back and upgraded several skills, making him confident he could even face the prince again. He stacks blessing on blessing through Holy Sword 2 until a 5-fold divine aura wraps his body. With one casual flick, he wipes out every monster in the hunting ground, ignoring their ranks and conditions entirely. At the massacre site, Han-Soo finds torn bodies and traumatized survivors, including the princesses, maids, and a female knight collapsed in the road. Instead of counseling them, Han-Soo uses Black Box to erase the fear and blessing to fix their bodies, leaving them confused but no longer broken. Once they change clothes and regroup, The princess is scolded for wandering off, and the prince is revealed to have died in the chaos. A cavalry of elites arrives, led by the Magic Kingdom's future king, and Han Su immediately recognizes the sweet potato-faced ruler from memory. The king's arrival should have been a relief, but instead he looks flustered and orders, "Kill them all." The duke's men hesitate at first because they think attacking a divine person is too dangerous, but their commander snaps that Han Su will become a disaster if he is left alive. Han Su realizes some natives can ignore divinity if their own desires are stronger, but he also sees a new upside: divinity may work on earthlings too. Instead of fighting, he decides to talk them down using his holy aura, blessing, and 10 years of therapy experience as a weapon. His words hit harder than weapons, and the soldiers start wavering when he reminds them about their families, their wages, and the shame of treason. He corners them with logic, royal legitimacy, and the sage's backing, and then uses the hidden force of dark energy to break their loyalty. The duke is betrayed, falls off his horse, and dies without ever getting a chance to cast a spell. Han Su erases the memory of the princess, the female knight, and the maids so they will not blurt out the truth when they return to court. Then he summons Saintess H and orders the dead to be resurrected, turning the massacre into a miracle. Only the duke stays dead, and Han Su quietly rewrites the story so everyone will believe an unknown assassin killed him while he was rushing in to help. The prince wakes up alive, obnoxious, and already acting entitled, but Han Su sees that he is still a disaster waiting to happen. So he wipes the prince's memory too, leaving him able to speak and survive but no longer fit to ruin the kingdom. Han Su thinks through the aftermath and convinces himself the kingdom is now in the least bad shape it could possibly be. Lenovo complains that something still feels off, but Han Su brushes her off and says they are leaving the Magic Kingdom behind. When the princess invites them to a party in place of the amnesiac prince, Han Su refuses and decides to travel again, starting with the sage's staff. Their next stop is Snowy Mountain M, a dangerous tourist mountain packed with monsters, criminals, and heroes chasing each other through the hot spring villages. Lenovo is recognized at once in Village Q, which makes Han Su realize she has a much smaller name than she thinks she does. Han Su explains that a bloody knife and free drinks can make anyone look impressive here, then says he came to gather information on the hero of origin. He kicks open the biggest pub, announces himself as a divine hero who will make the Ice Princess submit, and takes over the place with a loud demand for liquor. The crowd immediately starts cheering him, and Han Su realizes this is exactly how he will build a reputation and keep moving toward Earth. With the path ahead finally feeling clear, Han Su laughs that dreams and hopes are alive and keeps pushing toward his next goal. News of Han Su's brag that he'll conquer the Ice Princess spreads through Village Q, and now the whole mountain area is buzzing about him like he's already a famous hero. Han Su decides he needs information more than bravado, so he asks the bartender about the hero of origin and starts his dark commerce contact in earnest. Using the promised code, Han Su finishes customer verification overnight, and the bartender gives him a wide, shameless smile as the pub's sales keep climbing. At noon, Han Su is still stuck dealing with a drunken Lenovo upstairs, and she remains hopelessly full after drinking through the night. Han Su asks for information on the hero of origin, and the young woman from the dark commerce immediately understands that he wants the full hidden version, not the public story. She starts explaining the hero of origin's 7-year rise, but Han Su cuts her off and demands everything, not just the ordinary tales. Han Su offers a blueprint as payment, and the dark commerce agent instantly reacts because the paper is rare enough to be worth serious attention. A dwarf engineer arrives to inspect it, and Han Su recognizes him at once as the Blood-Red Dwarf, the infamous maker of the Crimson Golem from the Northern War. The dwarf studies the page and admits the blueprint is genuine, even saying the designer is better than he is, which leaves Han Su surprised and glad he found something useful after all. Seeing the value of the blueprint, the dark commerce agrees to gather every rumor they can find about the hero of origin and promises to deliver a full report later. They warn him it will take half a month, but Han Su accepts the delay, deciding not to rush this playthrough and to prepare carefully instead. Later that night, Lenovo wakes up in pajamas and tries to follow him, but Han Su blocks her by declaring that drinking and adventuring do not go together. Han Su proves she is still drunk by making her blow on his palm and then testing her with 2 fingers, and Lenovo is forced to admit defeat in embarrassed frustration. Han Su finally slips out of Village Q alone and heads for the peak, aiming to meet the isolated princess in the fortress above the snowy summit. He looks up at the summit and decides he's going to give the self-proclaimed most unfortunate woman in the world a much harsher lesson than she expects. As he starts toward her, Han Su admits to himself that he's becoming just as busy and meddlesome as the people he keeps mocking. Han Su heads for the summit fast, knowing Snowy Mountain M is full of EXP and that he has to make the Ice Princess submit before sunrise. He ignores the trainee teacher's suggestion to just run uphill, because he already has another way to get there quickly. Near Village Q, Han Su targets a secluded cabin and identifies the lazy dragon hiding there as his shortcut. He drags the dragon out by the throat, forces him back into his true form, and the villagers panic when they see a white dragon appear near the village. Before the dragon can breathe ice, Han Su crushes its jaw with a divine fist and knocks it out with the blast exploding inside its mouth. He wipes away the dragon's memories just enough to tame it, then takes complete control and orders it to lower its head. The dragon's wife rushes out half covered in a blanket, and Hansu tells her she is not living like a normal wife and should get a real job instead of being trapped here. He warns her about brainwashing and servant life, then sends Beku off with a pointed look toward Village Q and the Sage's Tower path. At the summit, Hansu reaches the ice grave where frozen adventurers are scattered everywhere, and realizes most of the dead are women who followed a doomed harem party. He judges the northern continent's obsession with the Ice Princess and the Sage, then arrives at the fortress as the Ice Princess shouts warnings from above. A handsome suitor calls for the princess to bear his child, but Beku freezes the whole harem party with a dragon breath blast before they can react. Hansu lands beside the Ice Princess, and the Sage's staff immediately begins swallowing the chill pouring from her body. When she reaches for the staff, he smacks her with it and uses the staff like a club because it keeps absorbing her power anyway. Hansu tells the Ice Princess that he will beat her every time she loses control and can even resurrect her 40 times, leaving her stunned and afraid. Hansu finishes the Ice Princess's training and pushes her to realize her power is only part of the story. She was surviving because of everyone who kept helping her. He points out that her food, clothes, bathwater, letters, and even the staff that supported her rampage all came from other people, and that her power only became controllable after repeated deaths and resurrection during training. He refuses to keep her as a companion and tells her to clean up, change clothes, and go down to Village Q with him before deciding her own future. After bathing and changing, the Ice Princess prepares to leave with almost nothing except jewels and coins, saying she plans to buy everything new in the village and is ready to let her old life go. Hansu orders Beku to move, but a gigantic cat-headed monster erupts from the snow and swallows the dragon in one bite. The attacker turns out to be a furious ice titan, an ancient snow king with absurdly high power, and Hansu immediately realizes it was tied to the Ice Princess's strange past. Hansu deduces that the giant used its failing old age to pour power into the princess and keep her trapped on this mountain. Then he prepares to kill it for eating his pet. He fuses divinity, dark energy, and blessing into Holy Sword 2, pushes past the giant's overwhelming terrain advantage, and starts carving through its body with brutal precision. Even after the giant loses its head, Hansu keeps striking until it finally dies. But the moment it falls, he realizes something is wrong. The giant's death curse freezes Hansu solid instead of burying the mountain in 10 days of snow, and he blacks out after joking that he has become the careless king. He wakes trapped inside ice, waits out the curse, and then shatters free with a crack as his power outlasts the dead giant's lingering spell. The Ice Princess greets him as a prince, but when he turns around he finds she has transformed into a plain, thrifty-looking older woman who now looks completely unlike the princess he just knew. When he asks how long he was frozen, the answer is 6 years, leaving him stunned in the mountain snow as the chapter ends on his long sleep and sudden wake-up. Hansu finally realizes his first playthrough estimate was wildly wrong, because a hidden boss cat giant stronger than the old disasters was dying somewhere out of sight. He wakes up to find 6 years have vanished, and the Ice Princess calmly admits she could not wake him no matter how many times she tried. Hansu reels over the 6-year time skip and the fact that the rest of the students already finished while he is still stuck in this world. Sylvia explains that the entire continent has fallen into a golem war, with the North only holding out because Sage and a mysterious goddess have been winning battles. Hansu checks both of their status screens and sees that Sylvia has become an absurdly strong snow queen, while his own skills have also changed in ways he does not even like. Sylvia admits part of the White Cat's power was transferred to her, making her growth even more extreme. Hansu decides the whole 6th playthrough is ruined and resolves to go down the mountain and move on to the 7th. Sylvia summons her exclusive golem, Glaciora, and a giant machine rises from the snow to carry them down the mountain. Hansu rides in the golem's hand as it storms downhill, crushing mountain monsters like they are nothing. Sylvia warns him that the lower slopes are dangerous because enemy golems wait in hiding, ready to ambush her once she comes down. Crimson golems burst out of a snow mound, but Hansu instantly recognizes them as dark commerce products and realizes his own blueprint helped create this nightmare future. Sylvia's golem smashes the crimson machines and their hidden operators in one sweep, proving the North's technology has outclassed them completely. Sylvia explains that the dark commerce has been conquering continents by monopolizing golem materials, bankrupting nations, and forcing kingdoms into desperate deals. She says the old magic kingdom has already collapsed and the Sage's Tower declared independence to fight back, but power alone still needs a symbol to rally around. Hansu laughs off being called a prince, but Sylvia reveals the title is intentional because his missing father story and hero bloodline make him the perfect figurehead. He can only laugh when she says the Sage's Tower has prepared an exclusive golem for him that can even destroy the world. Hansu looks over the ruined continent, sees his old village reduced to wasteland, and decides this disastrous playthrough is not his fault if a cat and 6 years stole his chance. When he says he is only going to inspect the promised golem before leaving, he spots Sage, the Muppet, Sylvia, Beku's wife, and the dwarf engineer waiting at the tower. Hansu grabs Sage by the throat and demands to know why the dark commerce was not stopped earlier. Sage apologizes that he was too busy making the golem Hansu ordered, then proudly reveals 5 parts racing out of the tower to form the giant machine. The 5 golems boost into the sky and combine into Hansu's exclusive super robot, finally giving him the machine he wanted. Hansu immediately claims the machine and vows to protect the peace of the 6th playthrough, even as a voice in his head reminds him that the 7th is still waiting. The sage proudly explains that the 5 golems now cover the 5 elemental attributes and combine into a magic-proof super robot with different cannons for different situations. When the hero points out that divinity and dark energy are missing, the sage admits he could not obtain either one and looks embarrassed by the gap in his design. The hero laughs off the problem and immediately pours divinity and blessing into the machine, causing the combined golem to flash with power. The golem's status surges upward as each of the 5 elemental cores is strengthened, and the finished unit becomes an ultra golem with guardian deity traits. The hero tries adding dark energy too, but the power clashes instead of harmonizing and triggers a backlash. Even so, the hero decides the current form is strong enough to crush almost anything except Demon King Pedinar. The sage warns that the golem's power is unprecedented but its mana consumption is terrifying, and even he doubts the hero can keep feeding it. The hero calmly answers that the hero's mana is infinite, and tells the sage to remember that fact. The sage reacts in disbelief, but the hero insists he should not underestimate a hero and tells him to watch closely. Using the infinite skill, the hero reveals that his power sources no longer collapse from overuse, so he can pour mana out endlessly without rest. He dumps mana into the golem, and even the tiny bit of magic power he gained from defeating the cat giant rapidly grows as it is used to recharge the machine. Because the 5 strongest golems were specially combined, the machine needs far more power than normal, but the hero keeps feeding it anyway as an ordinary magician would have been crippled long ago. Hero realizes his magic power rank keeps climbing even though he still does not know magic or sorcery, and the real change is that he can now pour out far more mana each second. The sage trembles in awe, realizing at a glance what happened, while Hero turns to Lenovo and demands to know what became of the hero of origin information he had bought 6 years ago from the Dark Commerce. Lenovo admits she has no idea, and Hero immediately regrets expecting anything useful from her. Once the super robot's mana tank is full, Hero's magic power reaches A rank, and he decides it is finally time to deploy Captain Fantasy. Hero proudly dismisses the awkward name complaints and sends Captain Fantasy charging forward, convinced the flashy name will help them seize the 6th playthrough with overwhelming power. The robot barrels toward the cluster of crimson enemy golems, and Hero deliberately saves the back boosters for any air battle that comes later. Hero treats every one of the crimson golems as a Dark Commerce henchman and sets out to crush them without hesitation. The story briefly explains that Dark Commerce has spent 2 years attacking the Sage's tower and trapping it from 3 sides, but today Hero has arrived at one of those encirclement outposts to break the blockade. At the outpost, the northern allied troops freeze in shock as a monster-sized machine erupts from the Sage's tower side and crashes into view. Hero savors their reaction, calling it exactly the kind of excellent response he wanted. From his perch on top of Captain Fantasy, the attacker savors the battlefield and drives the giant robot straight at the enemy camp. Captain Fantasy's drills spin up, and the enemy camp gets torn open in the first brutal charge. The enemy shouts for everyone to fight back, but the lone attacker keeps plowing deeper into the camp. Wave after wave of crimson golems pile in, but their attacks barely matter against Captain Fantasy's divine defenses. The charging golems smash into its legs and topple over themselves before they can even hurt it. Then Captain Fantasy fires all 5 elemental cannons at once, blasting the enemy line apart in one glorious explosion. As the mana tank drains, the pilot's magic proficiency suddenly jumps, and the enemy never realizes the attack is making him stronger. The allied side keeps throwing bodies at him, trying to wear him down, but they keep bleeding resources into the same hopeless plan. By the time the northern continent's commanders understand the trap, they have already committed far too many forces to turn back. The battle keeps snowballing until the entire Crimson Golem force across the northern continent is spent, while Captain Fantasy stays in perfect shape. When the fighting ends, the northern continent drops into cleanup mode while the other continents are still locked in real war. Hansa refused the surrender offers from almost every kingdom, deciding the people who caused the northern continent's ruin would not be spared. He sees the northern continent as a hell's cape of debt, crushing taxes, crime, and human suffering, and he hardens even more against mercy. He orders the execution of the royalty, nobles, and dark commerce collaborators without exception. Even as some beg for their wives and children to be spared, Hansa refuses every plea and leaves no family ties untouched. The citizens watch the executions in tears and gratitude, cheering Hansa as their savior even though he feels more like the king of beggars than a hero. Hansa hands the rebuilding work to the sage because he would rather keep moving with the super robot than fix every ruined kingdom himself. The sage boasts about Golemd's skill at paperwork, only to get elbowed hard by her for his filthy mouth. Even after the hit, the sage keeps smiling, and Hansa can't understand how a golem can treat a beautiful female body so casually. Golemd proves the sage right by working through the northern continent's paperwork without a hint of fatigue, even as Hansa senses Holy Sword III's weary soul inside her. She never complains, driven by a righteous urge to save the continent's suffering citizens, and Hansu feels grudgingly grateful. Hansu is struck by how well the sage and Golem D fit together, and he decides the Holy Sword 3 crowd is basically full of marriage-starved old maids. Elsewhere, the Ice Princess quietly keeps helping, only to find that people have already started calling her the Crown Princess or Sir Hero's wife. The protagonist keeps pushing through the northern continent toward the Dark Commerce Core, still angry about the woman spreading lies and stirring up the crowd. Before he can finish the job, a sudden blast of dark energy slams into his 5 golems like lightning. His proud super robot finishes combining right in front of the enemy, only to explode apart in midair moments later. Dizzy and furious, he cries out that the enemy attacked during the combined sequence and demands to know who dared do it. A woman steps out from the shadows, mocking his complaint and showing she is anything but weak. He realizes her dark energy is climbing fast and is far beyond ordinary SSS rank power. Without hesitating, he fires divine lightning at her head, but she survives the hit and keeps taunting him. She calls him a fake angel and laughs at his strange behavior, while the story notes their meeting is starting in a cowardly, oddly compatible way. Looking at her status, he sees a monster-level opponent with level 999+, a queen job, and multiple transcendental skills stacked on top of rage and a demon's sword. Devis mocks him for slaughtering his own race and asks where this fake angel crawled out from, and he snaps back that he came from Earth. After his long-range strike fails, he charges in with Holy Sword 2, stacking blessing and body amplification to force the fight into close combat. He pours everything he has into the attack, and Devis calmly answers by summoning her demon sword, which looks more like a violet lightsaber than a fantasy blade. Stunned by how genre-breaking it looks, he blurts out that it is a lightsaber in a fantasy world, and the moment feels like the rules of the setting just got shattered. The hero snaps back at the female demon, mocking her for whining about rules while she herself is obsessed with childish robots. The female demon fires back that a man should not criticize romance, and the two keep trading absurd battle philosophy in the middle of the fight. Their weapons collide with a massive impact, and the shockwave tears through the continent, blasting the nearby Dark Commerce officers sky high. Even though the hero has fewer transcendental skills, divinity keeps the demon in check and lets him force an unexpected stalemate. The female demon curses him as a cowardly fake, and the hero snaps back that he is not an angel and does not care what they think. The continent keeps collapsing around them as earthquakes, landslides, and lightning tear through the battlefield, and their clothes get shredded piece by piece in the chaos. The female demon gets furious when the hero says he aimed for her clothes on purpose, then kicks him in the shin for it. The hero fires back with a crude insult about her chest distracting him, and she explodes in outrage at his sexual harassment. The hero realizes this demon has an unexpectedly modern sense of words and starts suspecting she may be tied to a second demon bloodline. He confirms she is far stronger than the Demon King, but her immortality and vigor make her so tough that he still cannot see a clean way to win. With no clean opening left, the hero goes for a dirty move and yanks her long hair hard to break her balance. He drives Holy Sword 2 straight toward her chest, but the blade bounces off her elastic upper body instead of landing the finish. The female demon snaps that he is using dirty intimate discrimination, and the hero stares back in disbelief at how she twisted the complaint. The female demon catches the opening and lunges with her violet blade, but the hero is ready for that move. Her blade vanishes at the worst moment, and his swing skids into her left shoulder instead of stopping the attack. Before he can recover, she summons the blade again and slashes deeply across his waist. The wound heals fast, but he realizes she has already stolen the momentum. Her transcendental immortality keeps her going too, and the shoulder wound answers by spitting crimson thorns at him. She boasts that it is over, but her attack is aimed at him from a humiliatingly exposed, bare state. The hero survives by hardening his torso with Master Maling's teaching, but he is furious at being called finished by her. He snaps back with a headbutt, catching her off guard and smashing her nose bloody. Reeling, she tries to cut low and target his most vulnerable point instead. He blocks it, but the shock of the attack makes him instinctively clamp down and retreat from the near miss. Enraged by her dirty trick, he drops Holy Sword 2 and grabs her bare body with both hands. He twists hard, and the move finally lands so well that she gasps and folds at the waist. The female demon finally panicked, dropped her demon sword, and went for Kang Han-soo's body and the other self he was protecting, forcing him to fight even dirtier just to survive. Miss Trainee Teacher calls the whole thing a chaotic mess, but Kang Han-soo brushes off the criticism because fairness does not matter when he is about to die. They scratch, tear, and roll across the burned ground until the demon battle becomes a filthy wrestling match neither side can quit. Kang Han-soo finally drives her back into a cliff face, but the demon still keeps her body under control and escapes serious damage. He locks her wrists, shuts down the sword arm, and pins himself close enough to stop her knees from reaching his weak point. She taunts him to give up, but her red face and hot breathing make her invincibility claim look a lot less convincing. Kang Han-soo answers by kissing her to shut her up, then snaps her neck in one ruthless motion. She starts to revive at once, so he realizes the fight is not over yet and needs a stronger finish. He forces the divinity Z power extract into her throat and her revival starts collapsing from the inside out. Even when she tries to wriggle and distract him, he keeps the kiss locked in and keeps feeding her dark energy into the extraction. He holds the position for what feels like forever, while Miss Trainee Teacher can only sigh at how absurdly reusable his kiss has become. Han-soo keeps his mouth locked on her and answers her silence with a shameless inner thought about the weather being fine. Ash from the volcanic eruptions choked the sky, and the hero looked down at the exhausted female demon who had been driven limp by divinity. He muttered that she had been stubbornly tenacious, then immediately wondered what kind of strange demon he had just run into. A loud voice suddenly came from above, where a dazzling terrace sat high over the cliff, and the hero looked up in surprise. On the terrace, a completely nude demon bragged about the hero spoiling his plans, while the Elf King's wife posed at the rail behind him in a suggestive stance. The hero deadpanned that the Demon King's speed of progress was ridiculous, then pointed at the limp female demon and asked if she was his daughter. Pedinar ignored the question for a flashy introduction, proudly declared himself the pinnacle of evil, and promised to let the Elf King's wife go for free as a sign of respect. The hero only felt irritated, saying he had just been doing his hero job when he got dragged into this absurd scene. He finally realized the mistaken rendezvous had happened beneath the Demon King's castle, and that he had no idea how he had even crossed from the north to the middle continent. Then a system-style reproach cut in, bluntly accusing him of being too busy staring at a certain woman's torso, leaving the hero baffled. With no explanation for the strange arrival, he was left staring at the situation in confusion. The supposedly dead demon girl revives with ether wings, proving Pedinar's cold reaction was really confidence in her immortality. Soja keeps taunting Han-soo as a cowardly pervert, and the fight turns into a bitter argument over who is really exposing and humiliating whom. Han-soo realizes he has finally leveled up enough to challenge her for real, and he decides to use Black Box to finish Soja off first. Soja keeps exposing his hidden scheme, and Han-soo snaps back at her while the narration jokes that he is supposedly an honest Korean youth. Han-soo concludes that Soja is too durable to erase or kill cleanly, so he decides she will have to be imprisoned for good instead. Pedinar finally reveals his own growth, thanking Han-soo for forcing him to recover his full strength before the real fight begins. Han-soo blasts the castle apart with a divine punch, only to realize Pedinar has already blocked it with a body and status far beyond anything he expected. When Han-soo checks Pedinar's status, he sees a terrifying upgrade in level, immunity, swordsmanship, immortality, and indestructible body. Pedinar explains dark energy to Han-soo like a teacher, and then slams him with a brutal punch that breaks his arm through divine defense. Pedinar transforms into a monstrous battle state with ether wings, extra horns, and clawed limbs, then keeps chasing Han-soo with impossible speed. Han-soo blocks the next attack, but Pedinar's dark energy slips through the defense and poisons him from the inside, pushing him close to death. Han-soo panics as Pedinar shifts from enemy to father, claiming he is now fighting the boyfriend of his daughter instead of the chosen hero. Han-soo barely keeps up by copying Pedinar's dark energy technique, but he realizes his own mastery is still far weaker. The fight drags on until Han-soo admits he is losing ground, and Pedinar finally draws the demon's sword for the first time. Just when the Demon King starts talking like a father proud of his daughter's first love, Soja erupts in embarrassment, while Han-soo hates the whole situation. Pedinar suddenly reverses his sword grip and cuts open his own stomach, unleashing a flood of dark energy that swallows the whole world in darkness. As the darkness takes him, Han-soo hears a strange system voice congratulating the hero who won through friendship and love, and the so-called grading finally begins. Han-soo is thrilled to see AAA grades in achievement, reputation, and character, even though his combat ability dropped after Pedinar crushed him. He accepts the failed pass verdict with a grim laugh, then realizes the 7th playthrough has already begun. Back in the Magic Kingdom transfer room, Lenovo greets him brightly, and he immediately punches at her out of reflex. Seeing the Magic Kingdom's palace magicians, Han-soo remembers his lost status and decides to rebuild from the same northern route as before. He activates Black Box, checks his reset status, and sees that Curse has dragged his level down again. He floods the room with divinity, then crushes the resistance with dark energy until every magician except Lenovo kneels to him. Han-soo decides to meet the king first, and the palace magicians eagerly guide him deeper into the Magic Kingdom. The frail king of the Magic Kingdom finally meets Han-soo, while the duke and royal children hover anxiously by his side. Han-soo uses divinity and blessing to heal the king, and the old man suddenly looks alive again. Grateful and energized, the king offers Han-soo a reward, but Han-soo asks for Captain Fantasy's blueprint instead. The king agrees to have the golem built, but the 3-year timeline makes Han-soo quietly give up on getting it soon. Han-soo then asks about Golem D, learns it can be built in about 10 days, and decides to let the Magic Kingdom make that one instead. He keeps the Golem D plan secret, flatters the king's future unification dream, and leaves with a mutually useful deal. Professor Morals suddenly appears in a message, praises Han-soo's growth, and gets dismissed when Han-soo asks for the trainee teacher instead. With 10 days until Golem D is finished, Han-soo refuses to waste time in the palace and heads back to Snowy Mountain M. Lenovo tags along again, and Han-Soo grudgingly accepts that her chores and support make her useful enough to keep around. Han-Soo reveals his next goal, breaking through dark energy, even if he has to sacrifice more skills to do it. He hears a scream in the distance, but Lenovo's alarmed warning about it does nothing to change his plan. Instead of helping, he goes straight to the suspicious log cabin near Village Q and drags out a hidden white dragon in human form. The dragon reveals himself, Han-Soo subdues him with oblivion, and his taming skills rise exactly as expected. Han-Soo leaves Baeku's slavery-bound elf wife to Lenovo, then mounts Baeku and flies toward the fortress on Snowy Mountain M. As they take off, Han-Soo mutters that Baeku should wait, and Baeku snaps back that he never forgets grudges. Han-Soo realizes the 7th playthrough's timing has shifted, so he refuses to waste the 4 months that would have been spent waiting for Captain Fantasy to finish in Earth time. Baeku rockets through the blizzard to the summit of Snowy Mountain M, brushing past the storm like it is nothing. From the sky, Han-Soo spots the Ice Princess near the fortress and immediately decides she is needed to wake the cat giant. Baeku dive-bombs the princess and snatches her in his jaws before she can react. The princess's chill goes wild in terror, but Baeku's dragon resistance makes her freezing power useless. Han-Soo treats the cat giant as prey, then fires a divine strike straight into its eye. The giant staggers hard and collapses to its knees as Han-Soo explains the attack hit a fatal point in the brain. When the giant's death throes unleash brutal cold into his body, Han-Soo counters with stacked blessing and his own chill until the freezing force breaks apart. He looks up to keep moving, but the Ice Princess has vanished from Baeku's mouth, letting Han-Soo skip the stabilization lessons he planned to force on her. Han-Soo shrugs off the missing princess and orders Baeku onward toward the cave of training. While Baeku hunts across the mountain, Han-Soo rides on his head and quietly farms skill proficiency instead of EXP. He keeps noticing how useful dragon-class hunting is, and that thought only makes him resent the hero job more. After a full day of circling the mountain, Han-Soo finally lands in the orc forest outside the hidden training cave. Han-Soo leaves Baeku outside and heads in, ready to sacrifice the weaker skills he no longer needs. He feeds unwanted skills into the transcendental breakthrough, watching the requirement meter crawl upward in frustrating little steps. When dark energy finally becomes Z-rank, Han-Soo realizes he has crossed into demon royalty territory and feels more alarm than triumph. Trainee teacher warns him that transcendental skills are interconnected, and Han-Soo is furious that she hid such an important rule until now. He settles on taming as the last spare skill, then steps into the cave of training and drops back to level 1 as a jobless human. The reset pays off immediately. Jobless turns into Pope, and Han-Soo realizes Divinity plus Blessing now boosts evangelism instead of leaving him as a hero. With 4 transcendental skills in hand, he starts talking big about facing the old prince again and waiting in the final room for the lecherous priestess. He braces for a divine Pope's dirty little test, then laughs at his own perfect 3-letter title and keeps chanting that he is still AAA. Han-Soo cuts through the cave of training almost effortlessly, and reaches the final room in no time. He finds a tall demon butler waiting where the female priest used to be. The butler starts retelling the first hero's story, but Han-Soo quickly shuts down the long-winded version. Han-Soo notices the place is dusty and half-abandoned, like a house that got robbed and never fully cleaned up. He spots the female priest in the window, but she is frozen in a dazed hallucination and cannot even see him. The butler leads Han-Soo to the golden statue of the first hero and the holy sword hidden in the deepest part of the temple. The butler tricks the statue with hallucinations, steals the holy sword, and then curses it until the blade cracks and breaks apart. To prove his point, the butler explains that Fantasia is a split copy of the original world, and everything in it only holds a fraction of the real power. Han-Soo realizes Demon King Petinar was never truly resurrected here, because his power has been sealed and divided across all the copied worlds. That truth flips Han-Soo's mindset. This whole brutal world is just a training aid, so he decides he needs to graduate and leave as fast as possible. The butler reveals the real purpose of nurturing heroes. They are being raised to defeat the first hero, who ran away and built a strange one-sided harem family. Before disappearing, the butler rewards Han-Soo with power, and his divided body crumbles apart, breaking the hallucination over the temple. The female priest snaps out of it, panics at seeing Han-Soo, and he quietly puts her down with a tender kiss. After that, Han-Soo waits through 3 days of boredom, then concludes the old prince is not coming, and starts thinking about going to meet the Demon King himself. Right when he is ready to move, Han-Soo senses someone finally entering the cave from the beginner's room and grins at the unexpected arrival.